2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers podcast.
What is the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor, and it's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We've got a fantastic show for you tonight. Tonight's show's title is Panthers with a Big Win, but don't win big. Is that a problem? We will be looking back at the Jets game and ahead to the Saints game, and we've got some awesome guests tonight. Jonathan Alexander, beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, is going to come on and help us sort of preview what's ahead, but also look what happens in that opening week. And as we look forward to the Saints, we've got Bob Rose from the Saints News Network and co-host of the Bayou Blitz podcast, our good friend Bob Rose, to help us learn about our future foe and the team that had a big win over the Green Bay Packers this past week. So, look, we've got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to do it with y'all in the chat room and my co-host, Cody Lashney. Welcome back to the C3 Panthers podcast.
Tony Dunn, listen, it's a Tuesday night. Therefore, there's nowhere I'd rather be than sitting here and talking about my Carolina Panthers with all of you, man. And as always, we're going to do it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. I'm talking about the real Zero Chill, Big Daddy P, Dan Chan, AJ Lindsay, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Tin Tizzy, Karen Choi, Panthers Buzz FSU 23, Rockhead 81, Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The Panthers are coming off what I think is a big win because it's opening week and there's so much mystery surrounding this team. But a lot of people have been concerned. There's some trepidation about the Jets not being a good team. We have cut our kicker, which will be a point of contention for the rest of our lives. It seems like we're the new Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It feels like we had to bring back Corn Elder onto the practice squad. I'm not opposed to that, but we're going to be talking about that game, that second half lackluster performance after what was a very exciting first half against the New York Jets. And boy, that defense was tenacious, harassing. We're on pace for 102 sacks this season.
Nice.
Greg, That's crazy. I know.
So is Chandler
First of all,
So it's Chandler
85.
Yeah.
Greg, twice in a week, man. What a pleasure to hang out with you again.
Brother, I am so happy to be here. And, it's been the off season. I've had some things to take care of, but I'm doing my best to be here on Tuesdays and Sundays because the C3 Panther family is the best place or best group of people to be with when it comes to Carolina Panthers football. And I love it. Man, Sunday I was speaking the same things that the title of the show is tonight about, it's the Jets. It's a win. I'm happy about it. It's the Jets. Now it's Tuesday, man. Now I'm looking back and thinking the Panthers are 1-0. I crushed everybody in fantasy in every league I'm in this week. It's been a great week of football. Great opener, great closer, because the game last night, I don't know if you saw it, was awesome. Dude, football is back, man. I am so happy. This is awesome. Yes, let's go, for real.
Love having football back. And you know what? I'm glad that you're here specifically tonight, Greg, because I think we're going to have a really good conversation about these coaches. And I might be on your side a little more than I normally am. So, listen, we've got a lot to talk about, man. I'm excited to do it.
The always generous 89 J Stubbs, thank you for the contribution to the show. And he's ultimately the funder. He's like the angel investor of all at YouTube. Thank you, 89 J Stubbs, for your help. Guys, we want to hear from you, Panther Nation. The number is 252-228-5098. Be a part of the conversation. Jonathan Alexander at 9:10, Bob Rose at 9:30. We got some things to talk about at this point. Some news. All right. So last week, basically, here we are. We've got plenty of press conferences we could get into. We will get into those later. We got audio from Matt Rule, right? We've got all types of cool things to talk about, but the Panthers ultimately win in week 1. And Panther Nation has not been very excited, surprisingly, right? The Panthers come out and beat a not good team in the Jets, and people are talking about the offense wasn't there. And then we get this kicking situation that has been a thorn in our foot at this point today. The most recent news is that the Panthers have released Ryan Santoso. That's his name, right? Something Santoso.
Yeah, Ryan Santoso.
I barely got to know this guy, this giant, beautiful man. Tell me what happened, Cody, and what is happening with this kicking nightmare that we have become.
So the Panthers have brought in Zane Gonzalez, who we've brought in before. Ultimately, we didn't sign him. We ended up signing him back off of the Lions practice squad, rather. And I don't understand this at all, man. I mean, if you're gonna cut Ryan Santoso because he missed an extra point in the game, well, you should have just kept Joey Sly. I mean, Joey Sly missed a bunch of extra points.
He missed a million kicks, though.
But my point is, you're going to give Joey Sly a million different chances, and you're not even going to give Ryan Santoso a full opportunity to prove that he's a full-time kicker in the NFL. Like, we're going to play Matt Rule's explanation for not wanting to kick that field goal on the Jets' 33-yard line. But, they made it clear with their actions that they did not trust Ryan Santoso, and they weren't even going to give him the opportunity to earn that trust. Frankly, I think this is, I can't really feel too strongly one way or another. I somehow don't feel very good about Zane Gonzalez. I know that's a kicker who's kind of bounced around from team to team. So there's not much to inspire with this. The kicker position has been one of the most mismanaged positions on this football team. There should have been more competition for Joey Sly much earlier in camp. And I frankly think that Ryan Santoso didn't get an opportunity to actually earn that job. And I think our coaching staff kind of failed him in that respect.
My brother's in the chat room, Joe Riolano, founder of this show, said maybe they didn't want to give up that pick. Right, because if
100%, they did.
That's what I'm thinking about.
If he's on the roster this second week, we have to give up a 7th round pick. We got him for one game, and he missed an extra point to start. right? It's not like you trotted him out there and missed a 52 right away. Is the man crumpled on an extra point right away. And then the team pulled the hard line. They pulled the hard line. Like you said, we trotted Joey Sly out there for 63 yarders. He missed extra point every day. It felt like every game he was good for a missed extra point. This man, they went into camp and said, here you go. We believe in you. Ryan Santoso comes in here and misses one extra point. We say, get the hell out of here. We deported him. The Panthers deported Ryan Santoso. Greg, I think they gave him the death kiss, bro. Matt Rule, anytime he says anything complimentary about a guy, I'm almost worried about a Shaq Thompson right now. He said Shaq Thompson had a fantastic game. He might cut him now.
Look, just to comment on everything going on in the chat and what y'all are talking about. One, Joey Slide doing well. That's great. Week 1. He's done well for 1 week for us before. Any kicker is going to get about 70% of the time, 80% of the time is going to be a decent kicker. Any kicker in the NFL. Sorry, it's going to happen. 2, the analytics show that the kicker generally is the highest scoring player on a team every year.
Right.
So for me, I feel
all you have the highest record in, like, every kicker has the highest record in any franchise for points.
Right. And I feel like that's a very overlooked position. I feel like teams that have solid kickers, because a lot of times last minute games or, last minute decisions come down to a field goal kick or a missed extra point or something like that. I feel like it's an overlooked position, and we have sorely missed on this position as of late. Harrison Butker, come on, seriously. I know Sly's doing well.
Yeah.
He may go on to do really well.
I'm flipping through some pictures and some examples of this as you're talking. And hey, listen, the skies are looking pretty blue if you're Ryan Santoso, because the current trend is if you're an NFL kicker and the Panthers get rid of you, dude, there's good things in your future, man.
Right.
Because right now, Joey Sly is living his best life with the Houston Texans. Graham Gano last year, he missed only one field goal in all 32 attempts. And, Harrison Butker just has a Super Bowl ring. But whatever, not important, right?
Right.
Listen, this is something that the Panthers desperately need to get correct. This and that offensive line, which I know we're going to talk about in further depth later on in this show.
Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Before we do, can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
I want to ask one question about kickers that I don't hear anybody talking about unless it's in a place like Denver or a highly elevated place. Do you think that in Carolina the atmosphere has anything to do with kickers being good? The weather and the atmosphere has a lot to do with kickers. I feel like kickers and quarterbacks can throw the ball a lot further in places like Denver than they can in Carolina.
No, I don't think they, like, so if we were in Green Bay and it was the winter and it was swirling around, I've seen these guys just missing kicks.
Okay.
And there's no wind. And they even put the AstroTurf in now.
Yeah, we never really talked about that.
It's like there's no divots in it.
Right.
Yeah. Personally, listen, I know that what's his name? Justin Tucker from the Baltimore Ravens, that they have just as bad, if not worse, weather than us. I think it has nothing to do with the fans. It just matters whether or not you're a clutch field goal kicker, And I think that, Ryan Santoso may or may not be. But listen, don't color me surprised if Ryan Santoso gets picked up somewhere else and starts knocking field goals through from 50-something yards. That's the current trend. So
there's only one atmospheric thing that has interrupted with these kickers, and that's called pressure.
Yeah.
Telling you, Joey Sly crumpled under the pressure. Then he left. He got picked. Somebody picked him up. And he goes, "Oh cow! People even love me when I don't make kicks." And then he goes out there and he got no pressure on him. Now he's just soaring.
Watch, Joey Sly's going to make a 70-yarder this year.
No,
it's going to happen. He's going to make a 70-yarder.
It's going to be in week 3 against the Panthers.
He'll break an NFL
win the
record too.
Yeah, that will be when it happens. All right, let's hopefully we're going to have Jonathan Alexander on the line. I thought he was going to be here at 9:10, but we'll keep plowing through the show until we get these guys on. Let's talk about this offensive line, guys, is because the defense was so exciting, right? And then we move to the other side of the ball and we look at Sam Darnold, and he really played very well, right? He didn't do anything wrong. He missed one route and a couple of things, but it was not bad. But there was something that was bad. And it turns out that Christian McCaffrey disguises it over and over, right? Christian McCaffrey is the safety blanket, not of quarterbacks, but of offensive lines, because he can rush with no with no run blocking, and he can catch the ball when quarterbacks are getting mugged. What is this stat that Joe Riolano sent me right before this show?
Yeah, shout out to Joe Riolano for bringing this to all of our attention. Pass blocking win rate through week 1 via ESPN. The Carolina Panthers ranked 20%. Look how many teams we're below. We're below Houston, Washington, Atlanta. I mean, even the Jets.
That's all the teams.
Somewhere.
That's all the teams. We're below all the teams.
The New York Jets had a better win rate than us. And this gets me to the point that I made earlier about me being happy that the Bat Daddy is joining us here on the show. Greg has been a sort of a critic of our coaches, and I have to double down with that. I think, frankly, we're seeing a disturbing trend where Matt Rule and Fitterer and all of our coaches are doing that Ron Rivera bullshit, where we have young, talented players on our football team that could be making meaningful snaps for us right now, helping out this football team. But instead, we keep on trotting out the veterans that we already know are not going to be able to hold up to this. And as we go into the Saints matchup, I so want to be excited about this defense, and I am. Our defense is going to be the only reason why we have a chance against the Saints at home this Sunday. But I'm here to tell you
that's not true. I got a hot take on. I got a real take on that.
Let me just finish this thought. There is a nightmare scenario, an absolute nightmare scenario, where Sam looks even worse because he's going to be facing constant pressure coming up the middle. And that interior of this offensive line is a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem. Deontay Brown and Brady Christensen need to be playing. For that matter, Tommy Tremble needs to be playing more. Ian Thomas was bullied and pushed around on the offensive line when they had him in pass protection. I mean, there was even a few plays of his that if he would have picked up his defender, Christian would have taken off for 20 more extra yards, and I have evidence that I'll be able to show you all tonight. We need to play our younger players. Yeah, they're going to make boneheaded, young rookie mistakes, but so what? Get them in there now so that way they're learning on the job and getting better as they acclimate themselves to the playbook. It baffles me, and I feel like our coaches are doing the same shit that Ron Rivera used to do.
When we talk about this offensive line, though, we know that Taylor Moton, at least we didn't see him getting beat in this game. Cam Irving, I got to say, played pretty darn well. Now, the problem is that this offensive line isn't really getting beat. They're getting beat up. It's like the muscle that's coming after it, right? And even the good plays that the Carolina Panthers had came under some sort of pressure and duress. Can we hear from Matt Rule about this offensive line? Because Jonathan Alexander was the only person through 3/4 of the press conference on Monday of things that could get better that said, what about this offensive line? Right. And we have to be able, like, at some point, it's a big deal. So the Panthers have not made it a priority. Let's hear what Matt Rule's got to say when asked about this.
Sam was under too much duress, too much pressure. I thought he was fearless. He stepped up, pressure in his face. But he was under too much pressure. We have to do a better job collectively of protecting the quarterback.
So he says we have to do a better job of protecting the quarterback, but I'm trying to figure out what exactly that means. Does that just mean our offensive line has to pass protect better? Does that mean that they need better technique? Like, what exactly does that mean? And see, I can sit up here and go through tape and film. But we could have done that the past 3 years, looking at Irving and Elflein and even Paradis, and say that they didn't look good on film. So is it a technique thing or is it a talent thing? Because right now I'm thinking that it's a talent thing.
Can I add something in here?
Sure, you can. Get them, man.
Cody, well, listen, Cody, I'm on your side. I'm not a huge fan of these coaches, okay? But this is week 1, okay? This is my make or break year for the coaches. I told you all, I've given them time. We're going to see what happens this year, and then I'm going to make my final decision on what I feel about this coaching staff. I don't like Matt Rule, but if he can win me over, he has one more year to win me over, okay? But here's the thing. I don't give a damn what those stats say. I watched a lot of football this weekend. We were not the worst rated offensive line in the league. I'm sorry.
Like
we were not. We did not have the running back that had the 3rd most yards rushing in the league.
Sam Darnold didn't get sacked 5 times by one player.
Didn't get sacked 5 times. We didn't have a quarterback that threw 72%, 275 yards a touchdown. Probably would have been a passing touchdown if he hadn't ran one in, by the way, which is a sign of a great offensive line. I don't give a damn what those stats say. We did not have the worst offensive line this week. Now, we need to work on it. It definitely needs a little work. I'm not denying that. But those stats are bogus, dude. We did by far did not have the worst offensive line this week.
Ooh.
And I will stand behind that.
That would actually be saying this is, how did the Jets have a better number?
Exactly.
I love that. Look, on the trail. My man is on the trail here, and he's right.
It did say pass protection. It didn't necessarily say it just said pass block.
Here, let's put it this way. All right, so
pass rate.
I like that. That's a good point. Let's think of it this way. What about the weakest part of our week 1 performance, right? Strengths, right? Number 1, you're going to say pass rush, right? Is that we got after the quarterback. Panther Nation podcast is in the chat room. He put up this amazing stat from Pro Football Focus that said we had like a 74% pressure rate. We had 6 sacks, 10 pressures on a conservative number, 10 hits. So 6 sacks, 10 additional hits on the quarterback, and then you have pressures after that. And that's a conservative number. Pro Football Focus had it even higher, upwards of Zach Wilson, who passed the ball 37 times, was under duress 74% of the time. Right. So we could say that is the brightest light, I felt like, number 1. Number 2 is that the secondary and the defense as a whole, I thought played very well. Not perfect, but very well. Christian McCaffrey back, looking great, looking sensational.
Dominant.
Sam Darnold meets expectations, right? If not exceeds them a hair, in my opinion. And so I guess the only other thing you could say is this is special teams was lacking. If you throw in the kicker, number 1, Charlton, who's my man, who didn't pin it, like he could have pinned it a little, like he's been dropping bombs. And then one time we need him to drop a little baby bomb. He couldn't do it. The punt return game is sorry.
We've been sorry for so long.
I know. But then what is the sorriest part? It's got to be that interior offensive line. It does. They just got bullied.
Yeah, and like I said, good. I'm not disagreeing that we need work by any means. I'm just saying we by far weren't the worst. And I know people in the chat are saying pass rate, whatever. Come on, guys.
Right.
I can look at Jameis Winston's stats. He had 4 touchdowns with less than 100 yards this week before he got his 5th. So I mean, come on,
that's good.
That can be very
but that's also because they have a big badass offensive line that can run the football. So they
There's
had
always
they weren't great in the run game. Actually, they weren't great.
My final point to that is, look,
had 2 rushing touchdowns. I think they were damn good in the running game.
They were great. They had like 178 yards. They were great. But look, my final point to that is, look, when you can't be perfect in every position all the time. You've got to compromise somewhere. Okay. If you go to a strip club and the stripper that you've chosen to give you a lap dance has implants, does it matter that much? You're getting the job done. She's making do for, she's making do for what she can, or making changes for what she can to make things better or compromising. That's what you've got to do in football. You
I
can't
thought you
be
were going to
perfect in
say
every
that
position.
she
we're
looked
talking-
good and had like 4 toes or something.
look,
or
we're
busted grill.
talking
He
But
went
either
straight
way, she's
implant.
getting
Well,
the
of course.
Look,
But duh.
Dolly Parton is fake. Dolly Parton is fake 100%. But she looks good for her age and what she's doing. So does it work? Does it matter if it's fake? It
We're
looks
going
good.
off the rails. We're talking
No,
about the lady that
I'm
runs the
saying-
reading
Listen, this is
program.
What I'm saying is,
this
if the Panthers have to be bad in a certain point, but make up that somewhere else or compromise somewhere else because they have to lack here, that's what teams have to
But
do.
listen, if you're going to compromise anywhere, I'm here to tell you that the place to not do it is
Okay.
the offensive line. And especially when you have a
But there's
quarterback
only so many good offensive linemen.
disastrous in New York. You
Yeah.
want to try and turn his career around. You're not going to be able to do it with this kind of interior pass rush. On this touchdown to Robbie Anderson, if it wasn't for Christian McCaffrey stepping up and pass blocking on this play and making up for Miller, who absolutely whiffed on that
That's
play.
what he's there
It
for.
wasn't Miller. That's
doesn't
Dennis
even
Daly.
have the room.
That's
though,
Dennis
Cody.
Daly.
Dennis
It's not
Daly.
Miller.
Sam
That's
Darnold.
Dennis Daly.
No, look,
Sam
Cody,
Darnold
you're
wouldn't
right.
even have the room to step up into that pocket to make the throw.
You're
if it
right.
wasn't for
But
Christian McCaffrey.
that's what Christian
We
McCaffrey's
cannot
there
depend
for in that
on our
play. That's
running
why you
back
put
in
him
pass
there.
protection all the time.
Dude, Cody, that's why you put him there, is for that reason. He is your security blanket. He's there to pick up the blitz, to pick up the guy that gets past the first line. He's your last line of defense. They plan for that. That's
can't
what
Well,
that is
actually,
there for.
in the
Every
press,
We can't do it every
in
time.
the press
We don't do it
conference,
every time.
here's the
That's the
thing.
thing. We don't do that every
What's
time.
very interesting about that is that in the press conference, Matt Rule got on Chuba Hubbard for missing a block. We'll talk about that in a moment, but praised Christian McCaffrey like crazy. He actually said it wasn't a blitz pickup, but it was just a guy that blew his assignment. And thank God he said that it could have been Christian McCaffrey's greatest play of the day.
Yeah.
Right. But here is that the whole point that we're trying to circle back to is out of what I thought were a very lot of positives, right? If we come to the first one of the first line of concern, it turns out to be the first line of defense, technically, and that is our offensive line. But next, there has been some heat that has come on this coaching staff, interestingly, about kind of the explosiveness of the offense. Now, I got some things to say about people who have been making these Teddy Bridgewater comparisons. We got to miss me with that. But Joe Brady has come under fire for not having a dynamic enough offense. And the tangible evidence of that continues to surround that kicking decision of punting the ball on like the 33 one time and the 37 another time. Cody, Matt Rule addressed this in his press conference he was asked why they decided to punt the ball in those circumstances. This is something we addressed in the post game. Can we hear that clip?
Sure.
So
had some hard decisions to make, that I had the ball on the 33-yard line and punted it instead of going for the field goal. And, that's a tough decision to make. I can tell you that, but it felt like the way our defense was playing, I just wanted to try to pin him down. And we had worked we thought we were going to get him down inside the 5, inside the 10. It didn't quite work out that way, but, we had a couple drives where we were able to pin him back and just playing off the defense. And defense, made some big plays for us.
And yeah, I want to say that I don't disagree with Matt Rule's assertion there. Like, yeah, our defense was playing damn good. But one, it goes back to what I was saying about Santoso. You're not even giving him the opportunity in that scenario to put points on the board. And then number two, it's like you're trying to win the football game and you're choosing to not put points on the board. It's from 33. It's like I don't understand any of the kicking decisions that they've made, even though I understand it, I don't think that was a good idea in that scenario. You take the points. I just think that was a dumb decision to make.
It worked, and you're right. He is right that the defense was the strength of the day, and they felt confident in that. And the defense did close this sucker out ultimately, even though in the third quarter we did absolutely nothing. 24 yards of offense, and that is when they got gassed. And these off-platform throws that Zach Wilson was able to make. But he is, I mean, like, I understand that the defense could win that game. The kind of the crazy part about it is that on the 33-yard line, 4th and 7, you have three choices. You can punt the ball, you can go for a field goal, which would have been 52, or you could even go for it on 4th and 7. Why didn't you just go for it at this point? If the defense, if you have that much faith, if you have that much faith in the defense, why don't we just go for it then? It's like, if you don't have faith in the kicker, then, and you got faith in the defense,
well,
why not?
I mean, we don't trust our pass protection.
But you can't say you don't trust the pass protection if in the interview you say you trust the defense and how great the defense was. That's what I'm saying. He's speaking in circles.
All right, let's. So we've talked, and we'll ask some of these questions. We've got our first guest of the night, Jonathan Alexander from the Charlotte Observer, beat reporter and best asker of questions in the post games and the press conferences with Matt Rule. I promise you this: the most insightful questions. I've said this to him 3 times on Twitter in the last year. It took one person 17 minutes almost to ask about this offensive line. Finally, you did it. Welcome to the C3 Panthers podcast, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me. And sorry for the mix-up and me not being on time, but I appreciate the kind words too. Glad to be
No
here.
problem, man. We're gonna power through this. And look, week 1 against the Jets, the Panthers are able to not pull out a win. It felt like it could have been a dominant performance to start. We were on the precipice of a blowout. But things slowed down in the third quarter, but the Panthers are able to win in week 1. We're heading to the Saints. What's the sense that you get being in these post games about the team's feelings about this first win?
I think they're excited. I think, coming off last year, they felt like they were a good team, but they had a lot of close losses and the record didn't reflect that. I think that's how they felt. And then all offseason, they had been kind of working towards, really proving that they belong. They added a lot of key veterans there, and a lot of their younger players got a lot better. And, I think all that work and coming together is what they said. They came together. They finally had offseason. I think all that work kind of culminated and they put out a pretty good performance out there against the Jets, and they won. And I think, for them, it was kind of, proven to all the naysayers that they do belong. I think if you look, I don't know if y'all saw, but ESPN did some type of simulation, and they had the Panthers at like 5-12. They simulated the season, had the Panthers at 5-12, and with the number 1 pick in the 2021 draft. And I think they saw that, and I think they used it as motivation. Now it's only the first game, but I think what you saw, I think you saw some good things.
Cody, get in there.
So, Jonathan, once again, thank you for joining us tonight. We have to talk about one of the things that, it's been a very hot button topic amongst Panther fans, and that's this offensive line. And as of right now, the Panther fans are thinking, man, we have a legit defense that can get after the quarterback. We have the defensive backfield to be able to, protect against the pass. But if we're going to be able to rejuvenate Sam Darnold's career, he's going to need help and time to drop back. And the Panthers did not rate very well in pass protection. How does this get better for the Panthers? And what do you think of this matchup coming up this Sunday? And do you think our offensive line is going to be able to withstand that 4-man rush from the Saints?
I think that's a good observation. I mean, I think the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, gave up about 7 or 8 pressures in that game. I think it was 8 pressures in the game against the Jets, and that was one less than Zach Wilson. And I think that's really credit, considering Sam Darnold only got sacked once. I think that was credit to Sam Darnold. He made a lot of those throws under pressure, got hit after the play. I think the offensive line we knew that it was huge question marks coming into this game, and we saw that they're not going to hold up for a full 17-game season. The Panthers going to have to figure that out. I think what you may see is some shuffling around. Matt Rule, said that he was hoping that John Miller could come back. He was on the COVID-19 list, COVID reserve list, and don't know. We're not really sure yet if he'll be approved by the doctors. We're still waiting. I mean, that should help. I'm not the biggest fan of Elfline.
You're not alone, brother.
Yeah. I think I'm still worrying about Cameron Irving. I think Dennis Daly is good, but I don't think right guard is his position. And admittedly, he admitted it. He's used to playing left side, and he had to relearn that whole. It's interesting how different left and right guard are. Just if you hear people tell it, you're just doing everything opposite. So I think I think eventually, what I could easily see happen is, as Miller comes back, you put Miller back at right guard, you put Dennis Daly at left guard. And I think that probably will be in the short term of what they'll look at, but I don't know how long that's going to hold up. And the Saints are a really good defense. I think they were really good last year, and they carried that over this year. And I think that's going to be what carries the Saints, further than Jameis Winston. And I think the Panthers are really going to have to worry about that pass rush that the Saints bring.
Yeah, and to piggyback, let me just ask one more question off the back of that O-line, and then I'll pass the mic. Do you foresee any scenario where either of Deontay Brown or Brady Christensen work their way into this lineup? Because I've been saying, since the preseason, and granted it was against preseason defenses, but I thought Deontay Brown and Brady Christensen looked very good on that right side of the offensive line. And I just wonder if the answers to some of our offensive line woes are already on the roster.
I don't think so. For this reason, I think when they look at, I think Deontay Brown and Brady Christensen are going to be good. I just think that there are still some other nuances that they have to learn. Some type of pass protections. I think what you saw was they played well against the backups in the preseason, and I think the coaches recognize that. But I do think that they'd be starting had the coaches felt like they'd been good enough. I think that I think Deontay Brown's a little bit ahead of Brady. But
because of power, probably sheer power, man.
Yeah.
Is that, and that could work at a guard position. In fact, it seems like the interior line hasn't been getting just beat up. They're just been muscled around. I mean, they're making the blocks. They just happen to be walking backwards doing it.
Yeah. I think if the Panthers are left with no options, that they could at some point. But I do think they would move Dennis Daly over to left guard first. They would play John Miller first. Before going to Brady or Deontay. I think Deontay and Brady are kind of third string type of guys right now. They're still rookies, still learning. I don't think they want to rush those guys in. You got to think Brady is used to playing left tackle. He's still learning the position. So they don't want to rush that yet.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, and we're hanging out with Jonathan Alexander from the Charlotte Observer. You can check them out for the closest and coverage of the Carolina Panthers. Support your local newspapers. I will tell you that.
Thank you.
Let's go on and ask what is going on with this special teams debacle? I'm going to call it a special teams debacle. It's not just one thing. Is that the best player on special teams happens to be our punter, who was the guy that punted it over the wall twice in preseason last year, and then he becomes the man. Like all of a sudden he got the heebie-jeebies out of him, and now he's the best player on special teams. We've dealt with Joey Sly, no competition in camp. Now we had Ryan Santoso, who's been cut today, and who knows what's going on at the kicking position. And on top of that, man, that punt return game is a mess too, and has been a mess for the Carolina Panthers for a long time. What the heck is going on special teams?
Yeah. I think Joey Sly was struggling, and he had been struggling for some time. However, I do think the Panthers overreacted in releasing him because they didn't have a plan when they did release him. As you saw, Joey Sly had a great game with the Texans. But I don't think that there was proper planning in this. They traded, for Ryan Santoso, and they get their draft pick back. However, they resorted to getting Zane Gonzalez, and Zane Gonzalez had a terrible 2020. I think he made only 72% of his kicks, and that's not going to get it done. I mean, even the Detroit Lions didn't think he was good enough to start for them. So I think what you're seeing is the Panthers made a mistake. I think, I do think they should have rolled it out a little bit longer with Joey Sly, just see if he could get over that hump and then address it, unless it just got too bad, but then address it the next offseason. Punt return, I think they made a mistake there too. David Moore wasn't getting it done as much as they were hoping for. However, they cut bait with him, and then Shi Smith gets hurt, and then so you don't have Shi Smith available. I just think it's a couple of mistakes. They've just made premature decisions, I think, a little too early, and it's coming back to bite them. And the kicker thing is something that I think is something probably they got to worry about. I think that's probably the most dire situation they got.
Jonathan, do you agree with me? I think that Ryan Santoso didn't even get an opportunity to show what he was made of. Especially on that, deciding to punt the ball on the Jets 33. There were opportunities that they had to see what he was, and it was just because of that missed extra point that they just didn't even give him the opportunity. Did you think that this was just about the draft pick? They didn't want to send a 7th rounder to the Saints if they had him playing against the Saints, or pardon me, we're going to have to send a 7th rounder to the Giants, I believe. Yeah. If we played him against the Saints. Do you think that was the biggest factor? Or, I just think that they didn't give Ryan Santoso an opportunity to earn the job.
I think to be 100% honest with you, I think they had determined or saw enough of Ryan Santoso in that practice leading up, and they weren't exactly super high on it. They didn't want to risk that 7th round, losing that 7th round pick based on what they already knew. Ryan Santoso basically had to be perfect in that game for them to keep him. And he missed that extra point, and that was enough for them to say, yeah, we're not going to part ways. He's going to be gone. Exactly. I did think it would have been a great. I did think they should have allowed him to kick that 52-yard kick. That a 52-yard kick is not that hard. That's a makeable kick. But at the same time, I do think their minds were already made up heading into the game. I think they had saw enough. And when he missed that extra point, it was over at that point.
Mm-hmm. Can I say too, the kicker position is so difficult too, because Cody, I see what you're saying about not giving him a chance, but it's so difficult with a kicker because look at Joey Sly. He had a great game against this week, but he's had a great game with the Panthers too. Does that mean this is the guy moving forward? If a guy kicks the ball 50 times a year and he misses 6, okay, you're looking at what, 92%? 92% is pretty good, but what if those 6 misses are in the first 3 games?
Well,
does that mean at the end of the year you're like, this guy's terrible?
Yeah, we don't need to see our ex-girlfriend out at the bar with another guy the first day and being all crying about it, right? That's the thing with the Joey Sly thing, is that we don't need to be crying about Joey Sly. What we need to be crying about is the part that's called the kicking game that ain't worked in so long for Carolina. Let's move our focus to defense real quick. Man, if there is a bright light and a bright spot, it's young superstars budding on this Carolina Panthers defense under what we've been saying as the best coach on the Panthers staff, Phil Snow. He's our favorite coach. This man, the scruffy dude, gets these guys playing. that defense comes out and is all over Zach Wilson. We know that their offensive line was trash in this game. How optimistic should we be about this defense based on that week 1 performance?
I think you should be really optimistic. I saw a lot of great things. I think the biggest thing really is that pass rush. And, that was what the Panthers didn't have last year. I mean, if you think back to last year, the Panthers didn't get their first sack till week 3, which is terrible. Stephen Weatherly admitted he didn't work as hard as he should have. And now you see Hassan Reddick just makes such a big difference. Brian Burns is better in year 3. Derek Brown's better in year 3.
Yes.
And Daquan Jones is better than what KK was. I think they should be. And then you got finally Dante Jackson's healthy. J.C. Horn has much promise. Jeremy Chin is playing the position that is natural to him. You saw him go make that recovery on that deep pass and deflect that pass. I think you see a lot of great things, a lot of young players who can play. The only thing I'd be worried about really is the depth. If there was an injury,
if there's that's what I've been saying. If there, it's great right where it's at, but there's a lot of youth there, which is good.
Yeah.
But if it gets thin after that,
they're a thin team, and after that first string, then you have to worry. I mean, one of the few second string guys I'm super high on, other than the defense line. I think the defense line is actually pretty deep. But Frankie Louvu is somebody I feel confident in. But aside from that, at some of the other positions, they're very thin. And I don't think right now they can't really sustain a significant injury to a really key player.
Well, we did sustain an injury to the starting cornerback, who is a guy who came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But we may be saved by the fact that A.J. Bouye is going to be serving his final game of a suspension this week, will be available on week 3. Tell us what's going on in that secondary with these injuries.
Yeah, so Miles Hartsfield is out 8 to 12 weeks now. I just got word from a source earlier today that he is going to have surgery. He was having a second opinion on that wrist, but he is going to have surgery on that wrist. So he is going to be out. He's already on the IR. They put him on the IR yesterday. So they're going to have to do some shuffling. They just signed Corn Elder to the practice squad, or they're in the process of signing Corn Elder to the practice squad. And perhaps he may, get in. He knows the system. He's played in that system last year. So they have familiarity with them. So I don't think that they would have a problem putting him out on the field for that one game. And if they don't do that, they'll likely probably move Justin Burris to nickel corner and start Sean Chandler, which isn't ideal. Those aren't the positions that those guys are comfortable with. But it might be what they have to do. And then week 3, they get A.J. Bouye back, which is going to be a huge upgrade because A.J. Bouye is a veteran. He can play. He's been injured.
Former Pro Bowler.
Former Pro Bowler.
Well, we're hoping that he is going to be a contributor. I'm going to give everybody a final question so we don't take up too much of your time. My final question, though, because I've been working on this one. Like I said, you ask great questions. We have to deal with some bad questions in these press conferences. I'm going to tell you that. We got to deal with some bad questions from people. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but you have asked some of the questions that we have been kind of hoping someone would just say. And they've been wonderful. Just like this. Today was 12 minutes into this press conference, and no one has asked, what do you think about this offensive line performance? Yeah. And that was the question, and I loved it. My question to you is, what is your question for Matt Rule this week going into the Saints? What do you want to know about the Saints from Matt Rule?
That's a good question. I have not.
Yeah, we got good questions everywhere.
Y'all do have good questions. Man, what
do you want to know from Matt Rule about the Saints?
About the Saints,
or this week?
The first thing that comes to my mind really is why they decided to get Zane Gonzalez. He was not good last year in 2020 and what makes him think that he can get the job done for the Panthers.
We need Jake Verity. I'm an ECU alum. My man is the Baltimore guy that every year they say, Justin Tucker, you're going to kick all season for us. We know that. So we're going to have some punter come out here and be really good because there's no pressure. Jake Verity has done that. And then we're going to trade him for a 7th round pick. But in some reason, he kicks all these great kicks in preseason. We get Ryan Santoso, and now whoever this Zane, what's his name? Zane
Gonzalez.
Yeah, I can't even mess with him already. So where is Jake Verity at? All right, Cody, what's your question for Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, my question is about Sam Darnold, and I seem to think that Sam looked fine. I thought he made a lot of good throws. I thought he had to deal with a lot of pressure in his face, which also kind of hindered his performance. But Matt Rule even mentioned, there was a missed touchdown pass to Ian Thomas in the end zone. My question is just based off of your own personal, off of your view of the football game, how did you rate Sam Darnold's performance, and what do you expect from him going into this Saints game?
Coming into the game, I wasn't high at all on Sam Darnold. I had watched the film on him from 2020 season in the Jets, and what I saw was terrible. I recognize the fact that he didn't have much help and he didn't have an offensive line, but his mechanics were very much off. He'd throw off his back foot. He'd make, decisions that, just why did he throw that? And when I looked at him on Sunday, he just looked like a totally different person. He was calm. He was, he had a lot of poise. His feet were looked correct. That's credit to Sean Ryan, the quarterback's coach. And he had a lot of pressure. I was really high on the way Sam Darnold. I mean, like, he's not like an Aaron Rodgers or he's not a Russell Wilson, but he looked really good for what I saw last year and the circumstances and the pressure in his face. So I was super impressed with Sam Darnold. He could have been a little bit better, of course, but for what he did, he was very impressive. But I think he'll be pretty good against the Saints. I think the Saints are really good. They'll give him a strong test. It'll be a good test to see where Sam Darnold really is. But I don't think he'll be bad. Just based on what I saw in that first game, I think he'll be pretty good. Now, that's not saying that they'll win, but I think Sam Darnold will be good enough. I think it'll be good for him this season.
CK, first and last question.
Hey, thanks for having me back, guys. Sorry about the delay. And forgive me, you probably have already addressed this, but after the game against the Jets, I was let's just say critical of Joe Brady. And I felt as though we have the tools necessary outside of maybe an offensive line capable of holding pass blocks, for an extended period of time. We have all the tools. We have everything we need. And it just felt like there was one quarter of great, explosive, not just explosive, but like creativity. And then everything else was vanilla. I'm sure that other fans, it's interesting. We come off of a year where Joe Brady was being hailed as possible head coach for all these places, even though some of these same criticisms existed with Teddy Bridgewater in this offense last year. And I don't know that I've seen a jump yet in week one against the Jets when you probably should have a jump from an offensive coordinator. So when you, I guess, look at what this team did this past week, are you higher or lower on what Joe Brady is, and how do you feel about him moving forward?
I think I'm about the same. I mean, the same criticisms I had of Joe Brady last year are the same criticisms I had this year. I do think he found a quarterback who fit his system a little bit better, but some of those play calls on third down, particularly, I just one that just sticks in my head. It was a 3rd and 8, I think, and they threw an out route to Dan Arnold for 5 yards, and he had no chance to get that first down. Absolutely and I think and the Panthers were 4 of 14 on third down conversions. They were 1 of 4 in red zone touchdown opportunities. I mean, you're just seeing some of the same kind of mistakes happen. I do think that's on Joe Brady and the coaching staff. So
Yeah.
I've been kind of the same. I think Joe Brady definitely has to prove them.
Well, it felt to me like they did everything they could, and they did the same thing last year to take the football game out of the hands of the quarterback. Like instead of letting, like even last year, it felt like, everything that was called was called. There was not much maneuvering. It was you do what we tell you, and it didn't feel like there was much audibles or anything. And that's what you see out of great teams. You see the quarterback adjusting to what the defense is showing them, and not I just don't feel like you're seeing that. I feel like it's very like we're playing this play the way that we called it in the huddle and nothing else, no matter what we see on the field. I feel like they're taking a lot of that, the uncertainty of what Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater can do as a quarterback, out of the equation. And as you said, it's a system, but it's also a system that's going to be predicated on a really good defense, and that's only going to last so long on a 17-game season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Joe Brady's definitely got to be better in his play calling. I think Panthers should have had more points on the board. They should have beat the Jets by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree. Anyway,
final question, Greg.
Final question, man. I've had a lot running through my mind. I'm going to try to sum up just about everything we've talked about the whole time into one giant question right here. We talked about the O-line. We talked about Sam Darnold. We talked about AJ Bouye coming back. With the roster we have, we've seen that quarterbacks and the likes of Brad Johnson and Nick Foles can win Super Bowls. So you don't have to have the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
With AJ Bouye, with CMC coming back, Derek Brown, coming into his own, Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn, Shaq Thompson, what it looks like, special teams, the O-line, do we have on the roster what it takes to, I'm going to set the bar at, win the NFC South?
To win the NFC South, no.
What we have on the roster.
I don't think so. I think to win the NFC South and to be a deep playoff team, I think you got to have a deep roster. And I don't think the Panthers have a deep roster. I think that the Buccaneers are hands down the best team in the NFC South, NFC. I think, I think what you see from them is a deep roster. They can sustain injuries, and injuries happen on every team. They happen during the course of the season. I think the Panthers could be the number 2 team in the NFC South, and they could be on the precipice of a playoff team. But as far as winning the NFC South, I just think they're not deep enough. Okay.
I don't see this team having been able to do what the Dallas Cowboys was, tit for tat, throwing that ball down the field.
No, but if we win Sunday against the Saints, maybe there's a way we could be second in the division, wild carded in.
Yeah. And the thing is,
but it's just week 1, folks. Hey, I'm excited. I'm optimistic. But hey, I also said we're a 500 team, hoping to be a 12-win team next year or 11-win team next year. The question is, we might be boom or bust, as Cody Lashney says. It's boom or bust, or it might be in the middle. But right now we're 1-0. And Jonathan has had his first experience on the C3 Panthers podcast. We've been doing this for 9 years, have not missed a Tuesday night, Jonathan. And we thank you so much for giving your time to us this evening. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media. And folks, go subscribe to the Charlotte Observer digital media as well. Go ahead and support this type of content. Jonathan, how can they find you on social media?
You can find me at JONM Alexander on Twitter and on Instagram, JONM Alexander _. Thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all having me on. Again, I apologize for my misunderstanding of things, but I'm glad to be on. And thanks for having me, and thanks for thinking about me.
Well, we'll be here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m., and we hope we can do this again in the future. Thanks for your time, Jonathan, and good luck. Hey, good luck formulating that best question for Matt Rule. I'm telling you, I listened to the questions, and the man not named David Newton doesn't ask the best questions. Anyway, we appreciate your time. All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. That was Jonathan Alexander with the Charlotte Observer. And guys, we've got your cat calls coming tonight. 252-228-5098. Go ahead and support the show. Thumbs up button, a share, a like, a comment. We appreciate that support, and I appreciate the support of my good friend Bob Rose, who is here to help us figure out what the heck is going to happen as the Panthers host the Saints, and the Saints just mollywomped the damn Green Bay Packers. But I have first, thank you for your patience, Bob. Our guest was a little late showing up, and it just made logical sense to go now we're looking ahead to the New Orleans Saints. I gotta say this, I have an unpopular opinion. As every Panther fan looked at the box score from the Saints Green Bay Packers, they trembled. Their knees were quaking. They were talking about how bad the Panthers' offensive line was, how nothing's going to happen, how we can't have no chance. And I watched the game, and I don't want to take a lot away. The defense, wonderful. I would say I wouldn't even go as far as to say wonderful. They were pretty good. The Green Bay Packers were terrible, man. They were freaking awful. But Jameis Winston comes out efficient under the best of circumstances. I think the Saints are a good team, had a great game. But was this being a great team, or was this the Packers just with the ultimate meltdown? And what one Saints fan I heard describe as the greatest opener in Saints history. And Bob.
Bob, you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now. You broke up a little bit.
It's a monologue. Sorry for my monologue, but are you guys a great team, or was the Packers? And is this the greatest opener in Saints history, or was this the greatest meltdown in the history of the world for the Green Bay Packers?
Guys, it's somewhere. And guys, thank you so much for having me. Y'all make me feel like a rock star every time you're on, or every time I'm on with you. A little bit extra time in the green room never killed anybody. You know what? It was somewhere in between an absolute meltdown by the Packers and the Saints being a great team. I do believe it's somewhere in between. Let's not anoint the New Orleans Saints for the Super Bowl just yet, and let's not throw dirt on the Green Bay Packers just yet either. But you have to admire, even if you're a Saints hater, Tony, even if you're a Saints hater, you have to admire the focus that this organization had, being displaced to Texas and then happened to move the season opener for a second time out to Jacksonville. They just came in with laser sharp focus, and kudos to Sean Payton for putting together a great game plan. I think, and I've said it all off season, I think this New Orleans defense is going to be one of the better in the league. And we saw them do this against Green Bay without David Onyemata in the middle, obviously without Michael Thomas on offense, and with an unproven cornerback position. I think the Saints are a playoff contender still. Listen, Jameis Winston is not going to throw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions every week. All 5 of us have seen the good Jameis Winston and the bad Jameis Winston, and the Saints are going to get some. They're going to experience some ups and downs. But if you're a Saints fan, you got to be encouraged with what your team did against the Packers in Week 1.
Would you like Sean Payton if he wasn't your coach?
Yeah. Unless he was coaching a rival, because he is one of those guys that if you play or coach against, you absolutely hate his arrogance. But man, if he is on your side, you want to go to battle for him. You want to run through a wall for him. Not to make myself sound like a you-know-what, but when I coached with a lot of that same mentality and attitude and, arrogance. So I admire what I see in Sean Payton. I always have. I loved him as an offensive coordinator, too, before he came to New Orleans. If he's on the sidelines of your chief rival, you hate that rival and you hate Sean Payton a little bit more.
The reason I ask is because the Panther fans have been critical about our offensive coordinator, and who is kind of a disciple of Sean Payton, right? Who has spent time there. who had one of the most or was part of one of the most explosive offenses, if not the most explosive offense in college history, right? The Joe Burrow LSU squad. And some people, I saw a great tweet from someone today, and they said, we all hoping Joe Brady can put together an offense that scores 40 a week. Sean Payton come out there trying to put a 50 burger on you every time, man. Like, and that's why I asked that question is there's a lethalness that surrounds the way he coaches that offense. I heard something to the effect of that he saw one defensive formation from a Packers game last year against the Chargers, and he saw that and he called a play, and it like resulted in a touchdown. How is this guy so dialed in? And can he continue that sort of dominance with a Jameis Winston and some of the challenges that are facing this team with COVID now and some of these injuries?
Hey, yeah, listen, and that I'll tackle the COVID issue first. News broke today that 6 Saints assistant coaches, their entire offensive staff outside of Sean Payton, tested positive for COVID. Now, the entire coaching staff has been vaccinated, which gives those men a shot at being either on the sidelines or in the booth on Sunday, but they have to meet a whole lot of protocols between now and then. And that changes their preparation for you guys, too. It means that all game planning, all coaches meetings, they have to be conducted through Zoom. Now, obviously, every NFL team experienced that to a big level last season, so that's not a big change. But you're still talking about an inexperienced receiving crew for the Saints, and a quarterback in Jameis Winston who's only making his second start for the team. So I expect the Saints to have a fairly vanilla game plan coming in. But as far as Sean Payton and the way he prepares his game plans and for specific opponents, the man eats, breathes, and sleeps football. And he expects and demands a lot of the same things out of not only his players, but certainly his assistants. I think that Sean Payton has relished this challenge of coaching without Drew Brees. That's not a disrespect or a slight on his relationship with Brees, because the two are still extremely close. But Sean wants to prove now that he can be this great offensive mind without a legendary quarterback. And it's very much an ego thing with Sean, but I think there's something to that. And Jameis Winston has the skill set. Sean always bases his game plans around what his quarterback does best. He sits down with that quarterback. He did it with Teddy. He did it with Taysom, and he's doing it with Jameis. He sits down with them and says, okay, what plays do you like? And we'll feature our game plans around that. What plays don't you like? And we'll take them out of the game plan altogether this week. And I think that's what makes Sean Payton a very unique offensive coach.
So, Bob, before we go any further, real quick, I have to ask my partner, CK, to first do like the laundry guy, Tony's brother, who's happy enough to join us here in the chat. Joining us here, and he would like for CK to put on all 120 viewers that we have in the chat room right now a very specific kind of shame. CK, would you let him know?
Subscriber shame. Hit the like button, people.
Subscriber shame. 119 people watching. A minute ago, we were up to almost 130 people. I'm pretty sure that's a record for us right now. If you haven't done so already, hey, touch that like button. Make love to that notification bell. And if you haven't already, give a gentle smooch to that subscribe button so that way you get all this C3 Panther content that we have coming your way. Now, with that out of the way, Bob, I appreciate your patience earlier. I guess ran a little bit long, but as you said, hey, the green room is a comfortable place to wait sometimes. But you mentioned Jameis Winston, and my brother is a diehard New Orleans Saints fan. And after the New Orleans Saints trubbed the Green Bay Packers, he calls me and says, Cody, I'm happy that Drew Brees retired. He's like, I love him. I'm thankful for what he did for this football team. But his mindset is is that now that Drew Brees is gone, they have a quarterback that can affect every level of the football field in Jameis Winston. How are you feeling about your quarterback position? I know you touched on it a little bit with Jameis and how we've seen him throw a bunch of interceptions as well, but I want you to speak on what you've seen from Jameis thus far, and if you have seen any more consistency with him playing for the Saints that maybe you didn't see when he was playing for the Buccaneers.
And yeah, that is such a great issue. And I have seen a lot more consistency from Jameis Winston just in the 2 preseason games, the training camp footage, and certainly last week. Jameis is being very decisive with his reads. He's not afraid to tuck the ball and run and show some of that mobility that he has. If his first 2-3 reads breaks down, he's not going to force the ball. And I think that Sean Payton is going to keep Jameis on a very short leash. Jameis Winston is not going to get the opportunity to throw 30 interceptions in Sean Payton's offense. He'll be out on the streets first. But Jameis put in a long offseason, working up a rapport with a lot of his receivers. And you see that with Marquez Callaway and Jawan Johnson in particular. I think Jameis is going to be more consistent. One thing that we have to realize is, Jameis Winston as an individual and as a player, he needed to mature a lot. So the jury is still out on that until it's not. I know the locker room absolutely loves him. They were big advocates for him to come back after last season, after what he showed them in practice and in the locker room. But Jameis in Tampa Bay, he had 4 different head coaches in 5 years, 4 different offensive coordinators, never had a consistent running game, had a trash offensive line in front of him, and had a defense that oftentimes would give up 30 points a game. So while he had the receivers and some talent around him, he wasn't with a consistently stable organization. With the Saints, he has that. And I think it showed last year, even though he got very, very little playing time, it's going to translate over into this season. And I think you're going to see a very consistent Jameis Winston.
He looks leaner. He looks leaner to me.
He does.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I felt like he had a little bit of a belly when he was playing for the Buccaneers, and he's kind of leaned out now. It really does feel like he's trying to turn over a new leaf, and just like Drew Brees revitalized his career going from the Chargers to the Saints, it's looking like Jameis is trying to do that very same thing. But I want to kind of transition and pivot to, if I'm being honest, what kind of worries me the most about this matchup this Sunday, because right now, us as Panther fans, we feel like our defense is on fire. We have a bunch of really good guys. We're fast. We're physical. I mean, we had 6 sacks, a ton of quarterback hits. We have a much improved defensive backfield. But yet, even in spite of all of that, I'm worried and scared to death that we're going to get a rude awakening when running up against that big, bad Saints offensive line. And Bob, let me tell you, we've been having our fair share of offensive line problems here in Carolina. But man, I have to be honest. I feel like the New Orleans Saints have had for the past few years one of, if not the very best offensive line in all of football. Do you foresee that as your offensive key this season, just because you don't have to put everything on Jameis Winston's hands? You know you have Alvin Kamara and an offensive line that allows you to be as versatile as you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the bit. If the Saints are going to be a playoff team, like I think they are, it's because they beat people up in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. And I know we'll get to that in a minute. But the strength of this Saints team is undoubtedly their offensive line. Even when center Eric McCoy went down in the first series, that line still stayed together and had a very, very strong performance. They shifted Cesar Ruiz in to center from his right guard spot and plugged Calvin Throckmorton in, who's in his second year but saw very little playing time last year. He was a standout at right guard. Versatility is the name of the game for this Saints offensive line, because they still have James Hurst coming off of the bench too, who could start at either tackle or guard position. And as long as the Saints can run the ball with Kamara or even Tony Jones, who had an effective game against Green Bay, that allows the Saints to stay balanced and means that the pressure to play hero ball is not on Jameis Winston's shoulders. So that Saints offensive line is going to be the key to every game they play in this year.
I was worried. I have been one of those people who have said at some point the Saints got to take a step back. They got to get old at some point. Drew Brees was the old person. He's left. But I thought, man, this defense, which has become a cornerstone of this team for the last few years, at some point has to slow down. But somehow this team came out in week 1 and looked fantastic defensively. One of the things, though, is that you're facing are problems with injury. Marshawn Lattimore, who broke his finger inking $100 million deal, I believe, will not be playing. But fortunately, you've got Paulson Adebo, who is this young man who came and shined big time. And if he was a first-round pick, you would be jumping for joy when it came to this. Is that if we are jumping for joy for J.C. Horn, third-round pick, though, had an incredible debut, an incredible camp from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And now, even though Marshawn Lattimore is hurt, you've got Bradley Roby coming in, right? So tell us, and what is this defense looking like? Quan Alexander running around there like a madman.
Yeah, first of all, Quan, I think Quan is going to play Wolverine in the next X-Men movie because he's just had that kind of healing power. The man tore his Achilles.
He shouldn't be on the field, dude.
No, he shouldn't. It tore his Achilles today.
Yes.
And Quan, I thought they were going to limit his snap counts because Zach Bond just played out of his mind in the preseason, and Zach played a really strong game against the Packers too. That makes it, the development of Bond and recovery of Quan Alexander, along with the All-Pro Demario Davis, makes this Saints linebacking unit an incredibly athletic unit, and you need one when you're going to go up against a back like Christian McCaffrey. In the secondary, the Saints are officially listing Lattimore as week to week after that thumb and hand surgery today. But I think I would be absolutely shocked if he played on Sunday. But you're right. Bradley Roby is going to be activated. The Saints had just traded for him last week. And don't forget about Desmond Trufant either, our old friend from Atlanta. I know he had a little bit of an inconsistent game against Green Bay, but he was only a Saint for 3 days by the time they plugged him in. So I think Trufant and Adebo are probably going to be your starters. With Roby getting as much playing time as possible, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going to be manning your slot. They're going to be tested because I'm huge fans. You guys know I'm huge fans of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. They're going to damage a lot of secondaries this year. And now you added Terrace Marshall into that mix. As long as they can keep, you guys can keep Sam Darnold healthy, he's going to light a lot of teams up. So Adebo is going to be targeted again this week, just like he was against Green Bay. I love the young man. He would have been a first-round pick had he not opted out of his last year at Stanford. And he could play physical man coverage, athletically match up against pretty much any wide receiver he's going to go up against. And he has great ball skills and off-ball coverage. So, I think Adebo is going to be the key this week. He's going to have to continue that impressive performance he had in week 1. But Roby and Trufant are going to be under the guns too against this impressive Panthers receiving corps.
Cody, go ahead and cue that Jameis clip up real quick, please.
Sure thing.
My question for you, Bob, is how prepared are the New Orleans Saints for the Carolina Panthers? As we asked Jameis Winston about his, I've watched this thing a billion times.
Defense in the running game give overall shape to the way this played out, Jameis?
Well, I just think we were prepared. One thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
What did he say? And you know what is that? I know I laughed and I giggled at Jameis Winston nonstop over this. I watched it 100 times. It made me feel so good. But I would have been that same guy that was about to say something and had the fleeting moment Jameis Winston looked up to the sky and said, I don't care what I was about to say. I'm just just be prepared. How prepared are the Saints for the Panthers this week? As we're all tied for the lead in the division.
Yeah, and listen, Jameis Winston can make as many mistakes as he wants to post game. If he gives you even a couple touchdowns, takes care of the football, like I said, he can be as goofy as he wants in post game.
I like him. I like him more now.
As long as he's not doing more. As long as he's not having a game like he had against you guys when he was with the Bucks and he just embarrassed himself on every possible level and then losing like he did, then I completely understand your position.
Bob, I think one of the things that endears Jameis to so many people is that it doesn't seem like he's trying. Like, he's not trying to make people laugh at him. Like, this is just who he is. Like,
I love it.
He's just a big, goofy kid, and he's going to make jokes, and it's going to be silly. It's like he almost has a little bit of that Cam Newton in him, where he's just a big, goofy, jovial guy, you know? And I think that he's definitely gelled well.
What did he say? My mama used to always tell me? What did she used to tell me? I don't know. That shit was awesome. I mean, like the W's, we make fun of that. We make fun of, man. I tell you, every week there are Panther fans that are putting up the Jameis workouts for like when he's warming up in the, and he's getting his hips loose and he's doing all this. But I think he is endearing himself to us, and we hate everything about our competition.
You know what? I know you do, and I respect that. But I think that I feel pretty confident that all five of us can agree that we can present, the Panthers Saints can present a united front against the Brady-led Buccaneers and, of course, the hated Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
aren't they so bad? Aren't the Falcons so bad? Isn't that the most glorious thing in the world? Did you see that picture of Matt Ryan just laying on his face?
Yeah, he's laying on his stomach and he's just dead.
I didn't even feel bad. I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Moving on.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a fun year. I mean, there's always wars in the throughout the NFC South between all of our teams, and the Falcons are the easiest to poke fun at and make fun of, but we know that they're going to surprise either you guys or us or both, at some point this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've made fun of my friend who's a Falcons fan when they've been 0-6 and come back and had a better record than us at the end of the year. So we can definitely come back and bite you. And somebody may have asked this question when I was gone, and I apologize for coming in late. But before this game, did you believe Jameis Winston could get it done? Did you believe he was the answer, or do you after this game? Should I ask?
I've been a Jameis Winston supporter all offseason. Okay. I was a strong advocate that I wanted them to re-sign him because he wasn't under contract at the end of the last year. I believe in Jameis Winston's skill set, and I realize there's going to be some ups and downs with him, but I think he has the physical ability to put up some numbers in this Sean Payton offense. Is he a Super Bowl quarterback? That remains to be. Get back to me in December after he's played a couple big games for a playoff contender, and I'll feel more confident in answering that question. But I do.
Don't you like seeing the Saints open that offense up a bit though?
I do, and I love what Drew Brees did and had the ability to do. But let's face reality. Yeah, this offense really the last 3 years was severely limited in what they could do down the field, and defenses knew it. And when they faced better defenses, it really affected not only the offensive performance, but just the offensive game planning coming in. This isn't going to be, unlike what some Saints fans think, this isn't going to be a reincarnation of the bombed-away Oakland Raiders from the 1970s. But Sean Payton and Jameis Winston are going to take shots, and it's going to prevent defenses from stacking the box. First of all, you have to. It's going to freeze defenses to play action fakes well, and the safeties aren't going to be able to sit on those shorter routes, which means that when Michael Thomas does come back healthy, he's going to have even more room to operate underneath because they know that a guy like Jameis Winston, who's always thrown a pretty deep ball, by the way, Jameis Winston is going to be able to beat you deep. So you can't sit on those underneath routes.
Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you, Bob, let's pivot to what you're looking at in this matchup against the Panthers. And maybe some of the key matchups that maybe you're worried about, that maybe you think that the Panthers could pose a potential threat to you guys. Hey, or it could be the other way around. You might think that the Saints walk into Charlotte and just walk right over us. I want to get your opinion on this matchup and where, if anywhere, do you think the Saints might be a little bit vulnerable to what the Panthers might do?
Well, first of all, you got to protect your quarterback. We've talked about Jameis Winston all night. And even though the Saints have an impressive offensive line, again, Eric McCoy is going to be out. Brian Burns has been a thorn in Drew Brees' side for the previous 2 years. And I expect him to do the same. And your defensive front has only gotten even deeper this offseason. And now you added J.C. Horn along with Dante, who's I've always loved on the back end. Yeah. It's still the Saints put up 38 points, but only 5 completions went to wide receivers. That receiving corps for the Saints still has a lot to prove to me. And until they're able to prove it against an up and coming secondary like the Panthers, this is still the biggest weakness on this team for me. If a receiver can sort of emerge and separate himself from the pack, especially before Michael Thomas returns, that's going to open up a lot more space for Alvin Kamara. And I expect Kamara to be a lot more involved in the passing game against Carolina than he was last week, especially if Tony Jones, his backup at running back, is still able to run the ball well. So there's a lot of interesting matchups on that side of the ball. When the Panthers have the ball, it's almost like strength on strength, weakness on weakness. Because again, I've never been a fan of Sam Darnold. The book on him has been if you rattle him early on, he's going to throw a lot of interceptions and just a lot of bad balls. If the Saints can pressure Darnold like they pressured Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a long day for the Panthers. But if your offensive line holds up just a little bit, again, without Marshawn Lattimore, I love a Debo. I think Roby and Trufant are going to be just fine. But Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, who I've always loved, they could run wild through the Saints secondary because the Saints realize that they have to respect the abilities of Christian McCaffrey. And I think they have the athleticism and the linebacking core to stop him from being a major factor as a receiver. But McCaffrey is still going to get his touches, which means you can't drop those linebackers as deep into coverage to cover up like they were able to against Green Bay last week. McCaffrey is a much better receiving back than anything Green Bay was able to provide, which allowed the Saints linebackers to be a factor in the coverage against receivers and tight ends. They don't have that luxury this week, which means the onus is going to be a little bit more on the cornerback position to stop DJ, Terrace, and Robbie Anderson.
Speaking of touches to Christian McCaffrey, let's talk about touches to Alvin Kamara. Both of these running backs signed very big deals in the same year, and a lot of people are critical about paying running backs. So among Panther fans, the question is, was paying a running back, despite him being what I argue a sort of transcendent example, one who is more versatile than just a running back. A lot of people believe that despite, no matter what, is that it's an overinvestment in the position. On top of that, a lot of Panther fans are also concerned about the amount of plays that Christian McCaffrey, the downs that he plays, and how many touches he gets. Are there conversations similar among Saints fans about cautionary advice about how to use Kamara or to potentially not overuse him? And are there any concerns about investing that type of money in a running back? Or you guys just love Kamara no matter what?
I'd say it's more the latter. The love for Kamara goes deep. But listen, and I feel the same way about Christian McCaffrey. These guys are more than just running backs. They are transcendent offensive weapons that literally can threaten the defense from anywhere on the football field, lined up anywhere in the offensive formation. When you have a player like that, it's once in a lifetime, and you pay the man. Yeah, there's a little bit of concern, with Kamara's usage, but really, and it's the same with McCaffrey with you guys. What do you got other than him? I mean, you, as Bum Phillips used to say, you ride him until the wheels fall off. Kamara, and I feel strongly, I know it was this way with his dad, Ed McCaffrey, so I feel strongly Christian's the same way. Kamara has such a vigorous off-season workout program that you don't have to worry about him wearing down necessarily. Now, having that number 2 back, like Latavius Murray before him, and hopefully now like Tony Jones, having a number 2 back is key. And that's where the Carolina Panthers really need to pick up the slack, for Mac. But if you have a number 2 back like the Saints do, you don't have to pound Kamara between the tackles 20 and 25 times a game. You could still get him his 25 touches, but you can do so in more in open space where this man's skill set is best served anyway.
And
Bob, I wanted to ask you about some of these matchups, or not matchups, but some of the players that are not going to be participating for the New Orleans Saints. The chat said even Davenport would be missing. Do you know if that's confirmed or not? That's true?
It is true. Marcus Davenport injured
Wow.
the pectoral muscle.
Who had an incredible first half against the Packers, a sack, a lot. I mean, he was all over the place.
He was beating up on the Packers tight end, really.
Yeah,
bad.
I think it's a pec injury, and best case scenario 2 weeks, maybe. Worst case scenario longer.
Yeah, so Bob, my question, my full question was like all of those players that you're going to be missing, not having Michael Thomas, not having Marshawn Lattimore, now not having Davenport. How big is that going to change this matchup with the Panthers? And does that change any of your game plan with what the Saints might do this Sunday?
I mean, it's huge. Obviously, we talked about, the Saints receivers and them still being, I love Marquez Callaway. I love Deontay Harris, but they're no Michael Thomas. So you have to adjust your passing game accordingly. You have to rely more on Kamara, not only as a runner, but as a receiver. Defensively, the Davenport injury Davenport absence doesn't worry me as much this week as losing Marshawn Lattimore. Because Davenport, and you're right, he was having a monstrous training camp and a monstrous first half against Green Bay. But they have some depth there. Cam Jordan is going to be Cam Jordan. He played very, very well against the Packers. But when Davenport went out, Noah Passanio, free agent pickup from Kansas City this offseason, had a whale of a second half. And they have a young pass rusher named Carl Granderson. And they, of course, used a first-round pick on Peyton Turner, who wasn't even active this past week. So the Saints have some depth at the edge, some proven depth. Guys that they can even move inside on pass rushing downs to get all of them on the field at the same time. That's why the Lattimore injury concerns me more. Again, because you're still talking about a rookie in a Debo, Roby, who has not played a game for the team yet, and Trufant, who's only been with the team about a week and a half.
Greg, get in there. I think you had a question for him, didn't you?
No, we've gone past it. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah,
all right. I do have a question, and that's, what are your questions for us? I feel like that's always it's like not the end of it, like at the end of a job. I always tell my students the last question of a job interview is, what questions do you have for us? And that is a question. So you're always like this. If they say this is, when do we get paid? You're like, sorry, I ain't getting it. But if you're like, so I was looking on your website and I saw this, what are your questions for the Carolina Panthers and for us as we go in to both of our first divisional matchups?
You guys had a great interview with Jonathan, just before I came on. So he touched upon a lot of this. But if I'm in your shoes and I'm covering the Carolina Panthers, my concerns, therefore my question to you would be, Is Sam Darnold the answer either long term or even this week again? Is he the quarterback you want going up against the New Orleans Saints pass rush?
TBD.
What he's he's our quarterback right now. Number one, we don't know if he's long term. We do have the stock is up. I went in. I was on this radio show prior to our opener, and he said, "How optimistic are you about the Panthers this season?" And I was ready to give my real answer of like, well, I want to be 500. I want to show progress under Matt Rule and stuff. But I changed it up. I said, I got a 10 right now for the Carolina Panthers in week 1 against the Jets. I want us to get a win. I'm feeling optimistic about our defense. I'm feeling optimistic that Sam Darnold could be a reclamation project. And I also finished my answer, Tim, by saying in week 2, if you ask me this question, my answer may be a 9. In week 3, it may be an 8. In week 4, maybe a 7. But right now, when it comes to Sam Darnold and what I saw in week 1, I am happy that he has the potential that can overcome what the limitations of Teddy Bridgewater were. And I'm going to say my ice up pick is coming late in the show, so y'all can get ready for it. For all y'all people who are like, oh, look at their first 2 games with the Panthers were eerily resemblant. And then you go and look at Teddy, who did have a very good game in Denver and threw the ball arguably farther than he ever threw it in Carolina at any attempt. And I say this is miss me with that conversation. I mean, I saw enough from Sam Darnold right away that says the potential could be there. I don't know if it is there, but I'm ready to roll with Sam Darnold until we're not.
And Bob, a lot of it depends on our offensive line. This is a conversation that we've been having for, I mean, dude, since the end of last season, we've been having this discussion about our offensive line. Matt Rule, our head coach, compared it to I-85, which is an interstate that runs through Charlotte, goes down to Atlanta, but it's like always under construction. It's always shit to drive. And Matt Rule compared our offensive line to I-85. So it's like, we have a lot of moving pieces. I think Sam could have and should have had a much better performance than he even did versus the Jets. A few of them were on him. He missed the same pass to Ian Thomas that would have went for a touchdown. He then missed Terrace Marshall Jr. He has some ups and downs. We can't really fully give a full assessment of him yet. But, man, if this offense continues to play, this offensive line, specifically the interior, continues to play as bad as it has, one against the Jets, but also throughout the preseason and even from last year, it's probably going to be a lot of the same from Sam Darnold unless we can pass protect.
Look, for me, based on what Carolina's had the last few years, looking at what Sam Darnold did this last week, I just need a Brad Johnson, y'all. To be truly honest with you, Brad Johnson won the Super Bowl with 3,406 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I mean, I need a game manager that doesn't turn the ball over, and that's what Sam Darnold showed me this week he is capable of doing. Right. I'm not saying he's going to do it every week, but I need a guy that can do that can pass the ball down the field when need be and can still manage the game whenever. And so far, based on what he showed me, he can do that. And until he shows me otherwise, I'm going to stand behind Sam Darnold.
I believe that we're undervaluing what he's potentially able to do, right? Yeah, even with the game manager aspect of it. I mean, he has the potential to be better, like one of the better quarterbacks in the league. It's just a matter of whether he can get it working between the years. You know what I mean? That's the same thing with Jameis. Jameis has always had the tools. He's had the gifts. He's had a cannon of an arm. He's a gunslinger, similar to Stafford, similar to all these guys who've got the talent but never had a team to take them there. And then all of a sudden, now you see what happens when Stafford finds an organization that's not inept, just completely inept. Then you have Jameis Winston coming to a stable offensive scheme that's going to fit exactly what he is. I mean, you guys keep in mind, Drew Brees, their game plan changed drastically over the past 3 to 4 years to accommodate for Drew Brees' lack of ability to throw the ball consistently down the field over the past, as he's getting older, right? Especially throughout the entire season. And so I think Sam Darnold has that potential to be able to come in here and have that same thing, like consistency. This is the second year that this coaching staff has been here. There wasn't any coaching turnover. We have a very high quality weapons on our offense. It all boils down to whether our offensive line is going to ruin this, just like they ruined Cam Newton.
Oh, dude.
But that, you know what? That's fair. That last line is fair.
Yeah.
And again, the book on Darnold is, if you throw him around a little bit early on, he's going to lose it mentally and emotionally. And and I saw that from him his last year at USC even. And then he goes to a dumpster fire like the Jets. He was doomed from the start. So you guys are facing the same issues and same questions with Sam Darnold. And you're absolutely right. Then we are with Jameis Winston. Week 1, you got to check both of them off as big time wins. But they're both going to be facing a big divisional test in week 2. And it's a long season, and we both need to be prepared for some ups and downs from our quarterback. I think it's going to be that simple.
I remember what I was going to say earlier. I like everything you say. So well put, man. Everything you say, like, it's so well put. I like it.
Here comes the butt.
Like
I thought you were going to say the butt.
No, but you're a Saints fan, but everything you say, man, so well put.
He is. He's like he's got like the best manners of any guest that comes on here. No, we've gone a long way back. We've done a lot of shows together, and I appreciate your time, number one, Bob, tonight especially. But you've been fantastic support for our show, and just a brother to this podcast, and we love your insight. Can you tell them, Bob, how they can find your work as we head into this Saints game?
Hi, guys. First of all, thank you for having me on, and I feel the same love for you. I might not love your team, but I love you guys, and I love your show. Anybody that's tuning in, by the way, oftentimes we all reach out to each other. If the Saints suffer a horrible loss or the Panthers suffer a horrible, we'll reach out to each other personally and say, "Hey, man, you all right?" That's the respect that we have. But again, guys, thank you for having me on. I love to do it again. And when I get my show Bayou Blitz up and rolling again, I want to have all of you guys on. But ladies and gentlemen, you could follow me on Twitter at BobbyR2613. I'm over on Facebook, Bob Rose. We do have our own Bayou Blitz Facebook group. And my work can be followed not only on my individual pages, but the Saints News Network and SI.com, the Sports Illustrated team channel for the New Orleans Saints.
Fantastic work, Bob. Everybody go check my man out, and he'll be back before you know it, because we're going to play the Saints twice this year.
Maybe right, 3 times. You never know.
Oh, yeah. Now we're optimistic here.
Hopefully it goes better than the last time we played 3 games, because that was not fun.
Not for us, for them. Yes, it was.
Yeah, for you guys, sure.
We almost had that one pass away.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Bob. All right, let's continue. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It's a place where fans get together, and we're talking about those fanatics that get together who watch every detail, who will talk 15 minutes about a kicker that we did not learn his name. How about that? Man, we are breaking down every detail. And you know who are the fact checkers beyond fact checkers? Those people in the chat room, the best. We appreciate your time tonight, and we appreciate your calls. The number is 252-228-5098. We ask you to subscribe and just tell a friend about the show. As right before we get into the cat calls, guys, let's just go around the horn. Anybody got anything to say? We talked about Jonathan Alexander. We talked with Jonathan Alexander about week 1 and some brief looks ahead. We talked about Bob Rose. And the Saints, this matchup coming up. What is on your mind that you think that these cat calls should be thinking about?
So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is I've been saying that there are young players on this football team that the Panthers need to give more snaps to. Well, I am here to tell you that one of those people, we need to bench one Thomas and put back another one, right? Ian Thomas needs to go, and we need to give Tommy Tremble a real shot. On this play right here, Ian Thomas is going to, let me refresh it.
Refresh it.
Refresh it. Ian Thomas was supposed to be blocking number 47. And then number 47 ends up being the one to make the play on the football. Right here. So 47, this is 47 on Ian Thomas. Just shrugs the man off, throws him into the dirt. Boom. Grabs on the run CMC right there and brings him down into the dirt. And listen, you brought in.
God, y'all
Tommy,
hate on some Ian Thomas, don't you?
but dude, listen, listen. The days of you being an average meandering football player and that being acceptable, that shit is over with. That's what we're all over with. You brought in Tommy Tremble. You drafted him. This dude is nasty. He's mean. He wants to put people in the dirt. He loves to block. Why not give that man an opportunity? Like, I mean,
I'm wearing a Shaq Thompson jersey after we waited 5 years, and he gave us that game. I had to sit and come on this thing and apologize. We ready to cut Ian Thomas after a block.
Yeah. Why do we have that kind of patience anymore?
No, it's not. It's not after a block, right? I mean, Shaq Thompson was number one. He was a high draft pick, right? So even if you want to compare apples to apples, like Shaq Thompson still contributed to this football team with the help of Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly. Sorry, I tried to make sure I was saying it right.
Still didn't, but we love you anyway.
You know what I think Cody is talking about is Ian Thomas, even in the preseason, had he didn't even touch the games that Trimble had. Like, he didn't even come close to having as good of a games as Trimble had. And I can't recall Ian Thomas having ever had a good preseason, a good regular season. We've never talked about Ian Thomas and said
he was good his first 3 games in the league.
He was good in one game, yeah.
He
had a good touchdown pass.
First 3, and they were and he had 85 yards receiving one game or something crazy. And we were like, oh shit, this rookie about to blow it up. And then he didn't do anything for the rest of the year. Then he didn't do nothing the next year. And then everybody's
his
like,
hands
cut
are
this
massive, by the way. At the combine, he measured like 10.5-inch hands, which is enormous.
Didn't he have that touchdown pass from Christian McCaffrey where he almost got run down?
That was
Manhurts. Okay.
Oh, which by the way, Manhurts caught a 22-yard touchdown pass. But I think we talked about in the post game.
Panthers blowing up elsewhere.
You want to know about Ian Thomas's after all that? Out of all the things we talked about?
I'm saying I'm done with Ian Thomas, man. I want my main theme is I want our young players to play, especially when we have guys in front of them that are clearly lacking in the talent department and not getting the job done. To me, that's unacceptable, man. And it reminds me of that Ron Rivera shit, where we're not playing our best players just because they're younger. There's
Don't
something
we have
to learn
5 tight ends listed on this? And I saw Chuck's in the chat room, and he hates this Ricci dude. Right, but don't we have 5 tight ends on this roster? I don't think I've never seen more than 3. Now I know that in the past we've listed a fullback, which they're just not calling him a fullback, whoever he is. I don't know what that designation is. But that's a lot there is room to trim, I guess.
Sounds like my fantasy team, 5 tight ends, but.
Well, you know what? Screw Dan Arnold. I would have won my fantasy matchup in my dynasty league if I would have started the guy I kept, Dallas Goedert. But I was like, nah, Dan Arnold. My stupid Panthers fandom was like, oh, we brought in Dan Arnold to be a red zone threat, and he didn't do squat.
Even in the red zone. It wasn't
even in the red zone, which we didn't do squat. And actually, that's the question I would have asked Jonathan Alexander and juxtaposed to Bob Rose, is that why is it that the end zone seems so difficult for the Carolina Panthers to reach, but so easy for the fucking
else.
Saints to reach.
And you know what? Do you know what I hate though? It keeps on going back to this Teddy Bridgewater quote where he was like, "Oh, the Panthers didn't really practice the red zone that much."
Yeah, I don't
So
wanna
it's
hear
like
that
now
shit.
every time that we fuck up in the red zone, it's like, "Oh, see, Teddy tried to tell y'all." It's
Yeah.
just the whole fucking thing is annoying. And by the way, we didn't even look that bad in the red zone if it wasn't for some misses. Like Ian did run the right route. Sam just put that one a little bit too high.
A little high and hot. It was a little high and
exactly.
hot.
Like I hate to do this.
It's not even on Ian Thomas.
And I
wanna
hate
say
to do
that
this
to people.
It was just some missed opportunities. If I dare say something myself.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting that this is going to get better, and that right now in one game we haven't seen a lot of Dan Arnold. Well, don't regret taking him in your fantasy league just yet. I think that over the course of this year, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to find that hookup. It just needs to happen, man. But this offensive line has to get better in order for all those things to work properly.
This is why I'm high after week 1, bro. I know, I know a lot of Panther fans came out after this and said we played a bad Jets team and that we should have done more. Right? But right now I'm working on a story for the website. It's almost done. If I didn't have a job and a family, it would have been done before noon today, but need to go over it a couple more times and find a couple more fillers. But it was really the third quarter that killed the Panthers. It was 1/3 quarter. And there is a lot of criticism to be had, and that is like, how did we come out so flat-footed, lackadaisical, like in this overconfident days? And really, if you look at every play that went down, it was a different reason on each play. There was not one thing that happened. Sam Darnold comes out with a mistake and thinks that the route's supposed to be inside and it's outside. So he throws one of the fewer incompletions, or one of the bad balls he threw. Christian McCaffrey rushes for 9 yards on the next play. You're in a 3rd and 2 or something like that, 3rd and 1, and then the offensive line just gets destroyed. In this case, it was Dennis Daly who gets beat up. Right, so you got that. And then you had so you punt the ball, the defense does all right, and then there is a good downfield throw to Robbie Anderson, but it was just a little ahead of him, right? So it's like, I mean, it's so close to being right. It was the right look. It was the right on time. It was just this, and it just didn't work. And as we turned the ball over and over at this point, or went sort of short series, kind of this just miscues from every possible direction, the defense got tired. But what I'm seeing is I saw so much to be enthused about when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. And if you can't be excited about that defense, I don't know what to say. Yeah. And on top of that, it's not a bunch of old dudes. It's not a bunch of dudes that, like, you paid $47 million to this guy and this guy, and we better do it right now. Is like right now we're talking about this, is that Miles Hartfield is a big loss for this defense. And I don't even know this guy. I mean, I do because we saw him in the camp and the preseason, but this guy was straight balling. So I'm excited about this defense. The fact that YGM had hits and pressures and played 19 snaps. Come on. I mean, like, all right, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Sam Darnold. It's just, can we put together some things? And I think we can. I think that the Panthers, we as fans, need to not be worried about Joe Brady. Not yet. Look, has he proven it? I am a suspect. I've been trying to tell you, he didn't have, like, when you were like, oh, he was with the Saints. No, he was sitting in the corner in the offensive room. He won't, like, intimately involved in the Saints. Right? He was hanging out with Teddy Bridgewater on 3rd string. You tried to tell me he was so integral to LSU. Turns out he was, because Ed Ogeron is sitting here crying about Joe Brady.
Yeah, have you seen them now? Dude,
I mean, he is like in tears. He's like in tears, like, we need Joe Brady's offense. So I will give you credit right about that. But Joe Brady puts his offense out in phases. He did this last week. I am not worried. Shit was on time last week. Sure, could some things have been better, but hold up. Hold up. Let's put some cat in it. This week we're going to the Saints and we're putting something on these mugs. We got some new stuff coming to you. That's what I think.
Well, if we're asking last thing to talk about before we go to the cat calls, something I hope the cat calls are about, and something that I hope the fans in future cat calls and in the chat room tonight can help me with. I've wanted to buy a Shaq Thompson jersey since he's been a Panther, but it's just I've never been able to pull the trigger because he's never just done it for me where I can pull the trigger.
Lucky you.
Now he's wearing my baseball number and he's playing great at the moment. So I just need some input. Should I buy a Shaq Thompson jersey? And I want to hear some fans talk about Shaq Thompson because is he for real? Is he going to be, a top 5 player at his position, or is just a good week? So I want to hear some comments on that.
I tell you, one thing is that the one thing the fans need to say about that is you're safe for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 years at least to figure it out.
You can't cut this mug for 2 years.
Yeah.
CK, you got anything before we go to the cat calls?
Yeah. I want to, the things I obviously wanted to talk about was Joe Brady and seeing what he's going to be able to bring to the table. But I think one of the things you talked about with this team was the fact that we had too many missed opportunities in the red zone. I want you to go back and look at that Saints game and tell me how many missed opportunities they had in the red zone.
Yeah. Well, again, also a much more tenured coaching staff. Also, we're talking Sean Payton and all those guys too.
A much more tenured coaching staff. You're 100% right, but it's also a coaching staff that has a quarterback.
Sean Payton does that, man. It don't matter. Is that he's gonna put 50 on?
Right.
It's like a college coach. It's like this. He's working. He thinks he's on that system where what was it before the college championship? Where they had you had to win, like the more you won every game, and you won by 70, whatever that bowl system was before the champion, like the BCS. Yeah, like that, whatever it wasn't. Was that what it was called?
I think so. It was before they had the playoff committee.
Yeah, that, and where they would BCS. That's it. Like so he's like over there, like, oh, we got to run these He's trying to embarrass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I mean, that's what they did to the Packers, homie. They straight embarrassed them.
Was there a point with the Packers where you think they just said fuck it and just gave up?
Yeah.
We're just like,
Aaron Rodgers, first of all, didn't practice.
I think he did from the kickoff.
He didn't want to play football. He was like, oh, this. But their defense was trash, too. Like, nothing was good about the Packers.
Hey, Tony, before we go into these calls, before we do it, can we at least give a shout out to the level of fandom that somebody made a laundry guy YouTube account? Dude, it's the best.
I was crying about this.
It's the best. Dude, whoever you are, you're amazing. I love you.
I know. He's the mixed reality version of this podcast. He's up here. Did y'all see the mixed reality Panther?
That's your brother, man. Hey, that's your brother.
My friend texted me. He sent me a message that said, I think someone's trying to troll you because I was saying something. And I was like, who did this laundry guy account? He's like, this laundry guy. I think he might be trolling you. I was like, bro, he ain't trolling me. And he wasn't talking about the picture. He wasn't talking the picture. He thought that I was upset. Like I was saying something. I was like, no, this is next level, homie. I sent him the picture.
I'm just so happy that I showed that on.
It's like the best thing in the history of this show, and I hate it.
It is. I mean, he looks identical to you.
Ridiculous.
It's
uncanny.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Ridiculous, dude.
All
right,
awesome.
Let's get into these.
We have some great fans, man. We have some great fans
Look at
here.
this. We had so many people watching tonight for so long, and man, we got some calls to get into. And you jerks, I love you. See if this will work.
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody. And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So, how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
He's funny too. Good God, I'm so tired of it.
What's up, fellas? It's Corey. Called to give my take on the game. I called in right before the half, but Sam looked like he was shitting the bed. He kind of answered my call to action a little bit with his performance in the first half, but it really was a tale of two halves for this game. I'm sure I'm not gonna have any takes that are pretty much different than what anybody else thinks, but other than the fourth quarter, man, I think the defense really showed out. I think they did what they were supposed to do against a young quarterback, against the offensive line of the chess caliber. They really had Zach Wilson like running for his fucking life in the first half. Derek Brown, Tom Reddick, and goddamn Brian Burns. They was all doing their thing. Fourth quarter, I don't really know what happened in the fourth quarter. They fucking Carolina Panthers like they love to do, man. They can't just give us a win without any stress. Had to leave some niggas wide open and let Zach Wilson get a little bit of confidence. But I thought that play where JC got scored on, he was in great position. Ball went right past his hand where he was swatted for it. So you can tell he's got that technique, he's got that athleticism. He was right there. First game gave him the touchdown, but I'm not too hard on him for that. Man.
Oh, all right. Maybe this is part two.
Yeah, I think my call dropped. But anyway, like I was saying, I think Christian's in for a huge year, simply because not only because he's fucking Christian McCaffrey, but any time Sam Darnold had any pressure, anybody in his face, or just needing to get the ball out quick, he was just dumping it to Christian, to the point where I was like, God damn, throw to somebody else. But they kept saying on the broadcast, it's not that bad of a deal to throw it to Christian McCaffrey. So, that's a security blanket. So be it. That motherfucker might have another 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving year at this rate. But the game, I'm real conflicted on the game, man, because I felt like it should have been a blowout. But I'm not gonna be too hard on the boys because it is the first game of the year. Right. There's a lot of kinks you gotta work out, but.
It was the third quarter.
You had a rookie quarterback and an offensive line that looked that fucking terrible. I think we just should have put our foot on our necks in the second half, and it didn't really happen like that. But DJ looked good. Robbie Anderson had one big play. We got to do a better job of getting Robbie Anderson involved. One catch for 57 yards is, cool, but can't expect that every week. But definitely a lot to work on, a lot to tweak, especially. I don't know what the fuck has gotten into the New Orleans Saints. Long dick in the Green Bay Packers. But definitely is going to be a big change of pace from the one we had this past week. But, overall, we're 1-0. Half the league can't say that, so I'm not going to be, too nitpicky here. I just wish that we could have, really fucking put the nail in the coffin with the team after the first half. We gave Zach Wilson a little bit of confidence in the fourth quarter, which, speaking on Zach Wilson, he's going to be a good player, man. He was making some throws that looked really good, but god damn, I can see why Sam Darnold was the worst quarterback in the league playing for the Jets. Like he was out there by his fucking self. But just to wrap up the call, not to be too long-winded, man, we got a lot of work on if we want to give the Saints any problems, because that kind of performance right there, we're gonna get embarrassed. But hopefully we can get it done. But definitely, like I said, y'all appreciate the podcast every week, man. Y'all keep doing your thing.
Man, thank you for your support. Just like our new sponsors, webcap-chat.com, hot girls and boys. How about this? Is that if y'all get any clicks from that spam in the chat room, you better give us back like a 10-cent kickback or something like on that. No, all right. So
either that or I get a free hour with the girl of my choosing.
I know. And you know what the chat room's about to say? I'm with Tony with a boy.
Hey, but you did it for
They've been on fire tonight. They've been all over me. All right. So the call touched on a lot of points, but I want to go back to that defense. Right now, the defense was exciting. They were harassing Zach Wilson, and I know that New York Jet fans were, actually they're very optimistic. They focused on the good that they saw with Zach Wilson, and the first good part was that he got up after that Derek Brown hit. Do you know that Matt Rule in his press conference said, I didn't think he was going to get up?
Yeah.
Straight up. And you know what? I thought we were going to get a flag on that play.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought this. I was like, flag, here it comes.
Yeah, I mean, they both landed right on him,
truck with a trailer attached to it. YGM fell on top of him, too. They just wrecked that boy. But they focused on his gunslinger off, and he did. He was able. Our defense was after his ass so much. If he would not have been 24, if he was 28, we would have had 20 sacks, bro.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we had so many good opportunities at that point in time. I mean, dude, listen, I've been saying for a while that our defense is going to afford us the time to get our offense in order. I mean, to really figure out things, because I mean, look how many times our offense just sputtered out, and then our defense just came back with a vengeance, and was putting the hurt on him. So, yeah, we're hoping that we definitely see some more of that. I wanted to touch on Christian McCaffrey even more, and which is someone that the call mentioned. And obviously we all love Christian. The guy is exceptional, but I feel like we're not even high enough on him. Like, that guy is the heart and soul, the true lifeblood of our offense right now, man. That guy just keeps on churning after contact. He hits the hole at 1,000 miles an hour. Like, the dude is incredible. Like, our offense, had life because of Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
I mean, everything from that touchdown play where he was in on pass protection, and by the way, did an incredible job in doing so, to running through the gaps, to catching passes. Like, he absolutely does everything for us. So, yeah, man, I'm just I'm more and more thankful for McCaffrey every day. And yeah, I'll own my shit, Kevin. The guy who I didn't think we should have signed for as much money as we did. Dude, I'm sure as fuck happy.
Oh, it's okay. I thought that
right
I
now,
wanted
man.
us to draft Fournette. So don't worry. Look, as we've been wrong here, I know when I'm wrong and I'm ready to be right. And Christian McCaffrey is transcendent. And I tell you this, there's this one video that came out of training camp where all the running backs were doing their drills, like the same rope drill. And he just did it like at super speed. And they weren't doing it slow. Like, they're super athletes.
Right.
And he looked like this. It was like, man, I felt bad for him. It was like embarrassing having to go behind him. This is an important question for you, Bat Daddy. Are you ready?
Hey, C3. My question is for the Bat Daddies. Hey, Bat Daddy, would you rather have big, fake D-cup titties or natural C-cup titties?
The Bat Daddy said that earlier. He said something to the effect of some sort of analogy about, I don't even know what you were making, but then you went this. It was like, if you go to the strip club and you're upset that you have fake titties. I was like, no, I'm excited she got all her teeth.
The point I was trying to make, sorry, my dog's going crazy. My wife must be on. The point I was trying to make was,
he likes fake titties. What does he like? Fake titties are real titties.
Who doesn't? But what I'm saying is, if I've seen people talk about, like they look at something and say, oh, this person's so fake. They've got this and this and this. But do they look good? Well, yeah, they look good. Well, then why does it matter?
Have you ever touched fake titties? I haven't.
Well, I'm not sure.
I haven't.
Sure.
I really want to know. Like, I can't have an
Greg.
opinion on this until I touch them, bro.
Yeah. Well, my point is, though, is like the analogy I was making with football is, if you have to use makeup somewhere to cover up something to show off your other things you have because you're not going to be perfect everywhere, then do it as long as it works. That was the point of what I was trying to make. As far as the question goes,
yeah, you got to answer.
I don't think it matters. I think it's just the end result is all that really matters in that situation. It's not necessarily the
which
journey
is
to get
happy.
There. So yeah, so I think you're gonna be good either way.
All right, let's go to the next call.
What's going on, C3? This is Stack chilling. Haven't called since last year as I talked up Teddy Bridgewater. Well, that was definitely disappointing. But now Sammy D throwing deep balls to Robbie Anderson. Love to see that. I'm very excited to go 1-0. So go Panthers. But next week we got the Saints, and I saw them rout. Those Saints. Oh, they look great. I just really hope our secondary can watch that deep ball. I'm nervous that little guy Harris is going to burn our secondary. Just hopefully we can just get to Jameis and make him Amos Jameis scared and have him run back to the crab legs. Love the post-game show. I want to stop hearing people hating on our offensive line. We missed a couple of guys. As Cody's always saying, we need to get Deontay Brown in there. 100% agree. Get Eflin out. He's terrible, but our tackles did a decent job. Sammy wasn't hit. Quick ball out. Hopefully we see more of DJ Moore. That's what I'm just saying.
I want to give a big shout out to these calls right away. We got people roaring in the calls. Man, where is Joey the Blind Panther at? Like, who started this one? On top of that, I got to give mad credit to the chat room tonight for being just straight fire. Not only have they roasted me in the best possible ways, right? But when Bob came in and he had been hanging around for 20 minutes and he was ready too. He was sitting there ready. And I had this like soliloquy type introduction. It was a little long and meandering. And then somebody goes, my man is in a trance. There have been so many damn gems in this chat room tonight. And on these calls, I love y'all fools. And I love you way more than I love Teddy Bridgewater.
100%.
Hey, look, just like what Tim Messer says, it's like an effing zoo on C3 sometimes. But hey, you always have fun at this zoo, you know?
I know.
At least you don't have to get depressed. At least there's no apes sitting behind cages for their entire life. You know, here you just have these
Occasionally
apes.
someone throws feces at you.
Yeah, and I feel like at one point that might happen on this show, but we're far away from that yet. I mean, listen, dude, you can just listen to us gorillas talk about Panthers football, and if you like that, hit the thumbs up if you haven't done so already, man.
Dude, when my man said dude's in a trap, I mean, I was about to cry. Like some of these chats tonight. Oh, fire. Like my brother over here.
Just
even
like
when they were
brother,
coming after me, I'm like, who's this dude? It's like, your brother, of course. Oh man, I was on tilt, homie. Next call.
Hey guys, Chuck from Elizabeth City,
What's up, Chuck?
aka Carolina Sports Guy. I just wanted to say, how about old Federer, guys? We knew that Santoso, we were not going to lose a 7th round pick. Should have known the ruling company, they got us an extra point. They didn't want to take a chance and put him out there even before the end to kick a field goal that was doable. And I think they were waiting, for the right opportunity. I don't know if we're going to get the right kicker with Gonzalez here. We're going to see. But I didn't see us wasting, even though it's a 7th round pick, that draft capital. And Corn Elder's back. I know Miles Hartfield, he's going to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. And I guess Kenny Robinson, we ought to be able to get him back soon. And hey, next week, AJ Bouye's back. It's Saints week, and they got the coronavirus. So that Kenny Chesney, Nancy Pelosi looking son of a biscuit of a coach coming into town.
That was another thing that had me laughing in the chat.
But anyway, you got to look at Federer and Rule, man. The turnover on this roster, I haven't seen this much turnover for the Panthers since the Jacob Gelon birthday playoff game. It's definitely a lot. But anyway, guys, I'm looking forward to your input tonight. The defense is cracking, going. and we're going to get this offense. We just got to get this line right, guys, and I think we've got something. Take it easy.
89 J Stubbs earlier tonight said, I'm pretty sure it was him. He said that Sean Payton looked like his lips looked like folded bologna. And I almost like threw up like in laughter. And then somebody else said like it was like what like told you fire,
dude.
dude.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone compare Sean Payton to Nancy Pelosi before. That's a good one.
Now
man.
I can never unsee that when I see either one of them.
Oh my god, that's just terrible.
All right, next call.
Yeah, man.
No, I just want to say that I think with our O-line being really suspect for everyone, I think we did a hell of a job with the Jets' interior defensive players because they both those tackles are ranked top 15 for pressures.
That was Trill, bro. I'm telling you, man. I about to spit my drink out when he said folded like I couldn't even take it. I mean, I was crying. And I felt mean because like we're interviewing somebody from the Saints. All right,
Sean Payton's always doing the duck face that girls on Instagram do. Come on, dude. Are you an 18-year-old fashion influencer? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you taking a profile picture for Facebook? Quit doing your lips like that.
he's just shoving that broom up your ass, man.
Oh my god.
I'm done with it. We gotta fuck these guys up this Sunday. I think we can.
We do. I want to beat their ass.
It's your boy Mike.
I Supreme League.
What's up, Mike?
Hope you guys are enjoying this fine Tuesday. Weather's starting to cool down. Just a smidget. Just a smidget. So that's always good. So let me start this off by saying we do not need to be any sort of afraid of these ain'ts. Okay?
Okay.
Nothing to be afraid of. In my opinion, I could easily see it being a defensive showdown. You know,
I agree with that.
Tier defenses holding each other down. Because I mean, this past week, this man had 5 touchdowns off of about 148 yards. So his defense and his run game, that's our problem, but there's nothing to be afraid of. Darnold's going to have to win it too. They was clowning my man, calling him the check down king, but hey, it works. You utilize your best weapon. That boy C-Mac is the truth. Wish I had him on my fantasy team. Damn.
Don't we all?
But
Cody
yeah,
does.
boys, looking forward to the game this week. By the way, this kicker situation is maddening.
It's a mess, dude. We're the new Bucks.
I'm gonna have to hang up after this. That just makes me angry. They cut that man after missing that extra point.
Here are our sponsors again.
Just by drafting a kicker with our 6th round pick instead of a long snapper. So the fuck ever. Fuck the Aints. Panther pride till I die.
I like that.
Pounding, boys.
Was that a play on words? Maddening. Talking about football. Just wondering. But
maybe.
Hey,
dude, listen. I want to echo the same sentiment that he just said, that you just said, Tony. I am done losing to the New Orleans Saints, man. I'm done with this shit. I'm done getting our
But are
ass
the
whipped
Panthers
by
done
these
is the
fucking
question.
Saints, dude.
We're
And
done, but are they done?
Half of my family is from Louisiana, so I have to hear this shit double when the Saints beat the Panthers. I'm not fucking into it. The Panthers need to go out there and slap these fools, man.
I don't think it's
really-
impossible either, man. And I don't think it's only because of the vulnerabilities that they have because of COVID and injuries. Now, will I take those? Hell yeah.
Right.
Do I hope? Like, I will take anything. Like, at this point, I want that dub no matter what. Nobody's gonna care in 10 weeks if this team had COVID. We're gonna care if we're 12-5 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that like I watched that game again, the Saints and Packers, and I'm telling you, Panther fans were quaking in their boots when they saw that box score. But for that first half, the Packers sucked a big D, and not a lot happened either. Right? Like the Packers played the worst possible game to the effect of that. One of my friends said, this Thursday night's game is going to be a terrible Thursday night game. It's the Packers versus the Lions. Like it was such a bad game that he's already putting them in the category of the motherfucking Jacksonville Jaguars.
Who is?
Right.
Who's
And I
putting
know
them in
he
that?
was being exaggerative, but I do believe the Saints played a good game. But I also believe that the Packers played an exceptionally bad game.
I agree.
Yeah, they did.
Do y'all know
They
what the
did.
spread is for the game this week?
Sure, what is it?
3 points.
Panthers plus 3.5 is what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
On Yahoo. But I mean, yeah, that's
Hell yeah.
I mean, they're calling it to be a decently. I mean, I guess
Close
we get
game.
3 for being home, so I guess they're basically saying we're going to lose by a touchdown.
I think they don't do that as much anymore either.
I
What's
mean,
that?
we're going to have
Like
The three at
historically, I
home?
know, yeah, like I know historically, I mean that is the truth. It's
They're
like
basically
supposed to
giving
be
them a
3.
home field advantage.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they're looking at it as a pretty even game, you know?
It should be, and again, I think our defense is going to help us out tremendously. I think our much improved defensive backfield with Jeremy Chin, Dante Jackson, and now J.C. Horn. By the way, I'm not backing off of my bet. J.C. Horn is still going to be the defensive rookie of the year. I call my shots. I'm not coming off of it. I don't care if I go down in flames, dude. That's my shot. That's what I'm calling. We still have yet to see the best of him. We've yet to see the best of a lot of guys on our team. I think Brian Burns is going to be able to make a name for himself tonight. Bob Rose mentioned how Brian Burns has been giving Drew Brees hell, for the past 3 years now. And we're really
Didn't
going
they
to
have an injury at center? He might have talked about this. But
Yeah,
there's so
Eric
much going on the
McCoy.
show.
Eric McCoy. So,
And
hey,
guess
that's
who now's ready to eat?
Derek Brown.
Fucking Brown. And I'm
Let's
telling
fucking
you,
go.
y'all just tried to
Cody's
say
got
this.
so
mug.
excited.
You want a damn you want a jersey to buy?
That's
the
not a bad
safe-
idea.
That's on the
Derek
safe
Brown's
jersey
a good
list.
idea.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
a
actually
safe
not a bad
jersey
idea.
buy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even so much more than just the sack that he made, man. He's so disruptive. He was beating the hell out of their interior. And he's surprisingly slippery for a big man. I mean, he was able to kind of, flip his hips and get through some of those caps and get skinny when he had to. So I'm a huge fan.
He would make a
Derek
ton
Brown.
of money on webcam.com/boysandgirls.com. Thank you, Kevin.
By the way, I'm gonna keep on blocking them. So if you want to keep on coming in here, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'ma
I've been
keep on
trying to block
sending
him.
your
I feel
ass
like you've
together,
been
bro.
beating me to the punch.
Dude, they must
and
have
it's
like
got to be a
50
bot. It's not a real person. Like it has to be some sort of bot that
To
has
be able to
invaded
refresh that much,
YouTube.
yeah.
Well,
Like,
I
there's
block
no-
them.
I mean, if-
I block them and then report them, and then they fucking keep on coming back. So
I'll put him
whatever.
in timeout.
We'll just have to ignore them.
You're in timeout. Even though we are all gonna look up that website when we're all done. Next call.
Hey. You know who the fuck it is.
Get him.
What up, fellas? It's G-Baby. And I got a lot to say. I'm going to be calling in a couple of times tonight, Tony. Just give me the time of day. I got a lot on my mind. And Greg, it's good having you back on the motherfucking show, G.
Thanks, man.
Told you, man.
It's good to have you on the show. Talk some motherfucking rationale into these motherfuckers, G. Good to have you on the motherfucking show tonight. So I'm going to be calling back in, and it's going to be a good night, fellas. We want to know, and we got these bitch-ass motherfucking Saints coming to town, and we all know are these motherfucking Saints.
I don't think he called back either, which is.
Hey, by the way, we're at 99 likes on
Yeah, let's get that
YouTube.
100.
And right now we have more likes than we even have people watching right now. So if by any chance there's even one amongst you that haven't liked the video yet, get us to 100, man. Come on, it's free. We ain't
There
asking
you
for
go.
nothing.
They just did it. Bang.
Yeah, there we go. I like that shit. And by the way,
101.
we're on the road to 3,000 subscribers. So if you have not let your friends and family know and other Panther fans that you may know, if you have not let them know about this podcast, well, what are you doing, man? You're having fun listening to this. Let some other Panther fans know about it and help grow Panther Nation so we can continue to keep pounding throughout this entire season.
Bro, it's going up like a stock being squeezed right now, man. You said that, and it's gone up to 104.
Nice. Come on, folks.
I like that candlestick. Yeah.
I'm
Tyler
telling you this,
Owens
and you're
just
going to
joined.
want to come back. You're going to want to come back for some more because each and every week we're going to have a Carolina Panthers beat reporter on Wednesday. We're going to do a show. This week, we already got them lined up 3 weeks in advance. We've got next week, we've got Josh Klein. This week, tomorrow night, we've got Alan Ulrich from Under the Dome podcast to help us pop out a preview for this Saints game. On top of that, Cody and them boys be getting freaky on Fridays with the Friday free for all. And we also have had a tremendous response to these Madden simulations. CK, you guys have been putting in the good work. Boy, the response has been pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I'm telling you. So I recorded the simulation today. I'm just gonna give you guys a heads up. Cody hasn't seen it. It's a fucking incredible game. All right, you guys are gonna want to watch this simulation this week. 100%. It is one of those types of fucking games where you're just like, that was a fucking great game. So
can't wait.
Just to kind of preview what is coming up, we've got Schuler Callahan helping us, beat writer. Good God. We got Schuler Callahan on Wednesday night. We've got Alan Ulrich coming on Wednesday night. We've got tons of content coming to you guys. And not because we're generating that content. You guys are. In this chat room, by you guys showing up and having fun and letting us know what's up in these calls, you are pushing us to continue this conversation. We want you to join it. The number's 252-228-5098. Just trying to build that Panthers community together.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next call.
Hey guys, Joey.
What's up, Joey?
Did not get to call during the post game. And as you know, I actually went to the game. I went to the game. I went with my girl. But yeah, I took my girl to dinner and took her out to the Thirsty Beaver. So, and
You say took her out to the Thirsty Beaver.
Little tiny bar on
Joey's kind of
Central
small
Ave in Charlotte. So I did not get to the post game. But I really wanted to because I really wanted to hear y'all's beautiful voices after the game. After we won. And I just have to say that I thought we would win bigger against the Jets. I mean, the Jets, they're not so good. I mean, we know this, but CMC is back, and he's back to his old self at least week 1. But I wish we didn't use him so much because, it's that Ron Rivera shit. Ron Rivera is so predictable. He does that shit in Washington too. Watch a Washington game. He did that in the game that we don't like to talk about because we shouldn't have won it, but we did. But that's exactly what he did. And that's how they played week 1. But other than that, J.C. Horn's name didn't get mentioned much because they didn't throw his way, I guess. But anyway, guys, I don't want to get cut off because I hate getting cut off. But
Me too, but in a different way.
Wow.
So you know what you do when you've been cut off? You call again.
Hey guys, it's Joey again. I don't know who played this call, but please do because it's important. Anyway, are you scared of the Saints now that they beat the Packers? I mean, not only did they beat the Packers, I mean, they packed the Packers' bags for them. They didn't even let them pack their bags. I mean, I was like, oh, I'll wait to see with the Saints because, I mean, they were, or they are, I don't know if they are or were, like, but they were, before we were going into the season, they were, you know, we'll believe it when we see it. And I think now, I mean, I didn't see it, but I think that most people have seen it. The Saints can still kick ass. They kicked Aaron Rodgers' ass. Although I think people say that's on Aaron Rodgers, and I kind of have a conspiracy theory that he did it. He played like shit to get out of Green Bay, so like Green Bay wouldn't try to keep him next year. But that's just my thinking. But that's, yeah, he's being Aaron Rodgers anyway. We don't know. I mean, Jameis Winston's still Jameis Winston. I mean, he could be a Panther or a Saint. He could be throwing us the ball. We don't know. But I'm kind of scared of the Saints now. And the way we played, the way our coaching is, we didn't adjust. We just use CMC like crazy. Our offensive line sucks. I don't know. I'm not scared of I'm now scared of the Saints again, unfortunately. Anyway, guys. Wow.
So if fire, comment, fire.
And you know, if I don't think that we should be afraid of the Saints because one, fuck the Saints. We're never afraid of their ass. We don't care what the final score is. Number two, I think if our defense, obviously, we would say that our defensive line is going to be the major factor in the Panthers getting a victory, but I actually think it's going to be our second and third level. It's going to be our linebackers being able to float the football and be able to stop Alvin Kamara. But also, listen, now that they have Jameis Winston, I forgot to ask Bob this, but they have a guy on their team, number 11. He's a speed receiver. He's made a very good connection with Jameis Winston. That's their deep ball target.
Something or whatever. He had 2 touchdowns.
And he looked good in the preseason too. So I mean, I really think this is going to be on Dante Jackson and J.C. Horn to step up in a Michael Thomas less offense, and one that doesn't have Eric McCoy. Also, we have no reason to not come in here and really be aggressive. And I think our defensive backfield is going to be paramount in whatever the Saints do successfully on Sunday.
Right.
I tell you one thing is, I think that the Panthers offense is going to break through. I know that don't sound like you're like, oh, the Saints defense put it on the Packers, but they were sloppy everywhere. And then Aaron Rodgers started getting frustrated and just chunking it downfield. Right. And what I think this is that if the Panthers can run a clean game, limit the turnovers, no turnovers. If Sam Darnold could play to the capacity that he played in that game, plus more, obviously, in the third and fourth quarters, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to stun these fools. That's what I'm saying. And they're already wounded. They're already hurt. They're like the Aztecs with a case of the smallpox as the Spanish conquerors are coming in. Panthers are going to come.
How pumped would we be if the Panthers came in and just put on a dominant performance and just really hurt them, bro? Man.
I don't want to say a dominant performance. I think they're a good team, and they are like they should beat us in theory. But I don't think that we are these slobs that Carolina Panther fans have kind of been rutting into at this moment.
Well, this is one of those games that's going to prove to you whether you're a real team or not. You know, it's one of those ones when you're like 4 or 5-0 and you played the first real team you played. Like this is a measuring stick team,
right?
You know,
We got some momentum against a division opponent. Come on, Cody.
And
you
they're
said
missing
this.
and they're missing some key pieces.
I'm ready. I'm ready to kick these dudes in the nuts.
Yeah, I'm ready to kick them in the teeth, man. Fuck them. I'm pumped. I'm ready for it. Like I said, I'm tired of losing to the Saints. I got family members who are Saints fans who are going to make sure I hear it.
I'm ready to hurt your family members' feelings.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for it too, man. I want all their feelings to be very hurt about it.
I'm taking the
All right.
Panthers plus 3.5 this week. I think they're gonna.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool. I like it. All right, so we've been around pretty much every topic I think we need to handle for tonight. We've got tons of more content coming. Radio lesson learned here. Don't mention anybody's name on the show that you got upcoming if you don't got their bio information right in front of you. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, we got previews with Alan Ulrich from Under the Dome podcast, Schuler Callahan, who writes for SI Panthers. Sports Illustrated Panthers is going to help us preview both the Saints, the Panthers, as we continue to get ready for this first divisional match. On Friday, we've got the Freak for All, aka free ball, or as you call it, Cody,
the Friday free for all. No, listen, we're gonna do our best to keep that 100% clean. But listen, that episode, that show, that podcast is for you. You can come on the show. You can talk to me personally. We have a bunch of Panther fans that always come in there and have a great, fantastic conversation about the Panthers. Rashad and Dave from P&P have jumped on with us before. Aaron from Unnecessary Bluntness. This past Friday, Pat Coltrane came in and hung out for over 2 hours, just cutting up, having a good old time. The Friday free for all is fun for all, and you're welcome to join, man. That's your opportunity to be a Panther podcaster of your very own on this very channel every Friday at 7 p.m. And you can talk about whatever Panther topic you want to broach. So come be a part of it and hang out with us.
Don't forget, we also drop a Madden simulation where CK and Cody have been accused of being real parts of the game. Not accused, like as in like it was like, man, it took me a moment to realize this ain't embedded into the game. So you guys are doing great work there. We also have the post game that we're going to be running 4:30 after this week's game. It is, as long as it's a 1:00 game, we'll run it at 4:30/4:35, depending on how the game's running later at later times. And now for the final segment of the show, we got to ice some fools up. We got to tell some cats to get it together. Everyone is susceptible. Everybody is free game. The ice up segment is our homage to Steve Smith. And would Steve Smith hold back? Hell no, he wouldn't hold back.
No.
He would tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Who wants to go first?
I'm preparing.
Then it's me.
I'm looking for a video. Hang on.
Then it's me. I'm going first then.
Do it.
I'm going to go after these homies that are rooting for Teddy Bridgewater right now.
Do it.
And when I say this, is that like, I'm not rooting against Teddy Bridgewater. I could care less. But when you miss me with this talk, miss me with these two stats, and you're like, look at Teddy Bridgewater's first game as a Carolina Panther and look at Sam Darnold. And then they'll be like, oh, Sam Darnold checking the ball down. He's checking the ball down. You said he can't. That's what you said about Teddy Bridgewater. He's checking the ball down. I think you guys are right. I think you saw that pic that I posted up here of Teddy in that Louisville uniform, and you riding the Teddy BD. Because I tell you this, if you watch that game, Sam Darnold exhibited the arm talent that Teddy Bridgewater just doesn't. And if you can't see that, if you can't see the fact that the potential is higher with the downfield game, then you either stubborn, you racist, you a hater, or you just straight in love with that Teddy BD. And miss me with that talk. Because how about this is what happened in that first game. Oh, yeah, Teddy Bridgewater threw one pass but guess what? We got the W. And then they're going to come back. If you say this, oh, well, we didn't have a good defense. I don't care. Look, Teddy Bridgewater had a good game in Denver. I feel like he went and tried to throw it farther and as hard as he could just to prove us wrong, like trying everything he could.
And
but
this is week one.
Man.
Just keep in mind. Like, it's not like this is, we'll see what an entire season of wear and tear will be and what an entire season of him, being game planned for and everything by the, whatever defense he's going against.
My final point in this ice-up is that half of these fools who are talking about, oh, Teddy Bridgewater this, Teddy Bridgewater that, y'all were the same people that told us to stop talking about Cam. Y'all were the same people that said, oh, Cam's on another team.
Want to be right.
Stop talking about Cam. We're over Cam. And now you're up caping for damn Teddy Bridgewater. You're stumping for this dude. You're like, damn, on top of the tree asking to vote for this. And you told us to get over Cam, all of that. And I don't care. I hope Teddy Bridgewater, it does fine. But I tell you this, is that, come on, man, I saw enough right. Well, we know who Teddy Bridgewater was. We don't know who Sam Darnold is yet. But we know this motherfucker can throw it a lot farther and harder.
And by the way, it would be the same thing. If Sam were to flame out after this season and we moved on, good luck along the way. We want whoever is going to come in and get the job done for the Carolina Panthers, and really that's all there is to it. I don't have a great ice up. I'm just gonna ice up myself. The Met Gaia was going on, and that's where all these celebrities had wear
have
all
the
these
crazy outfits.
Yeah, the crazy outfits. Well, Kelly Rowland paid tribute to Donna Summer with her dress, and okay, Kelly looks great. But I'm icing myself up because I didn't know how bad Donna Summer was, bro. Like, where have I been? Like, hey, no, don't shame me for my Beastie Boy takes. Shame me for not knowing.
I will always shame you for those, brother.
This woman was, my Lord, man. It had me looking up Donna Summer. Man, that was a beautiful woman. That was, man, and I'm like, I was stunned that I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, what is your problem? Like, are you just now realizing that Donna Summer was this incredibly beautiful woman? So I'm icing myself up. Oh, and then I don't want to bring it down to a low note, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up, especially since we just here in America, we've been in remembrance of September 11th, only for me to find out that Donna Summer died because of inhalation that she inhaled from the September 11th attacks in New York. She was like 2 blocks away. And that's what ended up ultimately killing her, man. So
and ruining your opportunity.
Yeah, man, dude. But hey, I appreciate Kelly Rowland trying to do her best Donna Summer, but nothing like the original.
That other girl that wore the one that said tax the rich or something like that all over the dress.
Yeah, by the way,
who wrote it? Was that AOC that wore that?
AOC. By the way, as she was walking out with her maidservant holding her dress as she's wearing a mask.
At a party full of rich people.
Dude, it's
just saying.
You know what?
Right?
Is that just if saying. She's that, you know what? Maybe she should just be like this. I didn't pay for none of this. That like her should 100%. Be her defense. It's like, I didn't pay for this. I'm taking their free. I took extra biscuits in my purse. I mean, I took some rolls, some butter. All right. Ice up to you, Cody, for not knowing who those gorgeous thighs were.
Oh my,
delicious.
Dude, man.
I know. Watch out. Who's got one for us?
Mine's weak. I can just get it out of the way because I really didn't have one prepared. So I'll just ice up some low hanging fruit. Ice up the little Lebowski this week, and that's Aaron Rodgers, man. Dude, you've been a guy that I've looked at in my entire life as long as you've been a quarterback as one of the greats, and you either don't lose a game like this because you're one of those greats, or you don't intentionally lose a game like this, which is what people are suspecting. And if that's the route he's going, man, to kind of screw Green Bay and get out of there, which I don't know if it is, that's some Bush League shit right there, man. Like it really is. Like it really, really is. And the fact that you're so rich and you're so famous and so powerful that you can do that, that's even worse, you know? I'm just not a big fan of it, man. And once again, I don't know if he's doing that. I don't know if he's
like
doing
we've
that,
been rooting
you know?
for. I feel like I've been kind of in his corner. And then
Well,
you know what it reminds me of is who's the guy that was the wide receiver? He played for the Browns. He was awesome. Then he played for the Patriots, and he had all the drug. They were like
Josh Gordon, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, the NFL's all over him over nothing, this and that. And then like after he gets out, he's like, yeah, I was taking shots in the locker room and I sold $30,000 worth of weed a week in college. And I was like, damn, man, I've been trying to defend you the whole time.
Well, the only thing I can say to defend him is once again, we're in week 1, and the stat I heard today was, and I haven't checked this, so don't quote me on it. He's won 4 opening or lost 4 opening games now after this week. The 3 before that, he's gotten to the NFC Championship 2 times and the Super Bowl once and won MVP twice. So I mean, but for this week, for right now, I'm icing this guy up. Yeah, so
I hear you. And man, is that for somebody who is trying to be experimental with the hair? It's just like a little
yeah. It was weird.
And he's doing the interviews before time. All right. So
did you still have the little Lebowski?
Yeah.
I like that.
Awesome.
I like that. I like that. By the way, shout out 89J subs for the 199. It says, "Oh, didn't ice up Elflin, no cap."
All right. CK,
that could be everyone's ice up.
I mean, honestly, I think right now it's just a matter of icing up the Atlanta Falcons, bro. Like you have
Always
to ice up this entire team because
they suck.
Let's talk about what they did this offseason. They drafted at the position the highest ever in the history of the NFL's drafted tight end in Kyle Pitts instead of a quarterback, which we all know that they're in need of. If they're in a real true rebuild, they needed to get a quarterback, and they didn't make that a priority whatsoever. Not only that, you trade away Julio Jones, right? And that may have been a little bit of Julio Jones involved in that, but all of this, just think about the hilarity of what the Atlanta Falcons must be feeling right now. They trade him away, and then they only try to get the ball to Kyle Pitts 4 times. Like, on top of all this number one, like, generational athlete that I'm sure every one of us would have loved to have on our team. I don't know if we would have loved to have him at the position that we would have been drafting him at, but we would have loved to have him on the team, right? You don't even try to get the ball to him more than 3 or 4 times. It's just absolutely hysterical. And so ATL, I'm just gonna say the Falcons ice up because it looks like it might be a long season for you guys.
I love this show and I love y'all and I fucking hate the Falcons and I love that they suck. Isn't it awesome? All right, cook God. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We've got a big week of guests ahead of us. Schuler Callahan with Sports Illustrated covering the Panthers will help us preview this game with the Saints on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night in like 15 minutes. Nah, not in 15 minutes. Tomorrow night. Alan Ulrich with Under the Dome podcast, the Friday free for all, the Madden simulations with the sexiest commentators in the history of the world, the post game show. We need y'all's support by calling into the show at 252-228-5098, smashing the thumbs up button, checking us out on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever y'all get your podcast at an audio version. We syndicate this mess. You can find Cody Lashney on Twitter where?
At Cody Lack, right there in front of me at CODYLAC. You can find all of my content for the draft website on drafttech.com, where I write comments for the first and second round pick for the Carolina Panthers. Me and CK are going to do another Madden simulation dub this week that fans have been loving. So many comments on it. I think both of those videos are over 1,000 views right now.
It's like 8 minutes, like the first 8 hours. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude, they've been killing it. So we're definitely going to do that more. And the Friday free for all, man, at 7 p.m. every single Friday, and that's for you, man. I want to hear from you, all the people in the chat room that are always sitting here, that are awesome, that make this show what it is. Hey, this is an opportunity for you to come on and be a podcaster just like us. If you want to talk to us about this Panthers team, something going on in the NFL, man, this is your platform to do it. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on the Friday free for all. And yeah, that's it for your boy, man. I'm ready to slap these pussy ass Saints, Tony.
That's
Dunn.
right. Like right in Sean Payton's baloney lips.
Smack him
Put
off
our
his
Panther, put our virtual whatever mixed reality D on his baloney lips. CK, where can they find your work at?
Oh man, you can find me pretty much all social media platforms at Codizzle Allen. Just be on the lookout, guys. We're gonna do more like we did last time. Cody did the premiere, and I think you guys enjoyed chatting in the chat room as we're watching it together, and you know, for the first time. I'm telling you right now, this game. I'm not I'm not telling you that we won, but you know, I'm just gonna put it out there that we put up a fight, one way or another. You guys are gonna have to see the outcome, and it's gonna be worth it, man. It's a beautiful game.
Those baloney lips.
Slap him right off his face. No more baloney for that man.
No more baloney.
Duck face.
Just my baloney.
No more warhead lips. Done.
Greg, it's been wonderful seeing you twice in a week. I feel like we might as well be married at this point.
I like it, man. I'm down for it. I say yes. So
the fans are happy that the Bat Daddy is back.
I appreciate it, man. The love is great, and you know what? I'm gonna try to make it as much as I can. I want to hop on one of these shows, these Wednesday shows. I want to hop on one of these simulation game announcements.
Yeah, you're welcome
that, man. So definitely, let's get up and do it. But other than this, you can find me on Fridays live at 9 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. So if you're going to check out the Free For All show, man, when you get out of there, just kind of roll into this SCS podcast. We talk about movies, TVs, comics. Podcast. Yeah, man, and it's actually modeled after this show. Like, it's modeled after this show and another show that I watch, a combination of those two shows. It's modeled after this. So it's just a bunch of friends hanging out, talking about movies, comics, TVs, TV shows, graphic novels, all kinds of fun stuff. Y'all have all been on. It's a really good time. Yeah. We're covering some really good stuff right now. But we go live every Friday at 9 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And then the audio drops Monday on any podcaster of your choice. So
you check it out if you want to talk about stuff that we all love, which is like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Marvel versus, we're watching Stranger Things again in preparation for hopefully it will come back again. Mm-hmm. It's all the things we do when we're not watching the Panthers, folks. So check out Greg's work there and get ready to slap that baloney lip boy in the face.
Smack him.
Cody, can we get out of here and we'll check these wonderful chat room. The chat room, man, fire tonight, bro. I can't even. I mean, it's the best chat room in the history of the world.
They fire every night, man. I feel like every.
I know tonight they brought the real.
But it just gets better. They get better and better, man. They get better and better all the time. All right,
we'll see you guys soon. Until then, keep pounding. Take us out of here, Cody.
Keep pounding.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.